What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Filling in the Gaps. I'm your boy, Flojo, and tonight, oh Lord, we're going to talk about it, you guys. How's it going? Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We're just going to wait for people to roll in. How's everybody doing? Let me make sure I say what's up to everybody. Don't forget, we are streaming on YouTube with Twitch and Kick, so whatever platform you're on, welcome. Majority of you guys are probably on YouTube, but if you're on Twitch, welcome. And I don't think we've ever got a single viewer on Kick, so we'll see how that goes. We're also streaming on vertical and horizontal, and if you don't like the view that you're in on YouTube, switch on over. Make sure that you come back and choose the horizontal view if you don't like it. Let me make sure I give a shout out to everybody that's here. First Liberty's podcast is here. Jazzy, Ramona's here. Priya, Ramona. How's it going, Ramona? Peekaboo, Kim Wells, Jad's here. Felicia, hi, Felicia. Raina's here. What's up, Raina? Did I say hi to Kim? Kim, Cat Sears here. 808 TV. My South Londoner. How's it going, my London fam? Lex is here. Waffle Knox is in the building. How the F we feeling, baby? You're in here too. I see you. B. Alexander Media. Welcome. You were waiting on this, huh? The dumbest criminal of all time. I know. Let me just make sure we turn on everything else here. Turn on the comments. We can turn the comments on too. 4 a.m. in South London. Oh, dear Lord. Me? Ignoring you, Rach? Why? Coco Mom, I see you. Welcome, Coco Mom. Storm is in the house. Ash is here. What's up, my beautiful peoples? How's everybody feeling? Sorry about that. You guys, I do have to apologize. I was very silent last night. I was not in the mix. I was literally feeling down and out. Let me just kind of walk you through my day yesterday, right? I had work. Obviously, I do work full-time Monday through Friday. Welcome, Donna Summer, for becoming a new member of the Inner Circle. Welcome. Let me tell you what happened yesterday, right? So I was at work. And at 3 p.m., I had a meeting with this company for the school that I'm with. And right as soon as that meeting started, I was feeling this shock of pain just hit my flank area. And that's like the back area, right around where my kidneys were at. And I just knew that it was a kidney stone. And so as this meeting progressed, the pain further progressed and got worse and worse. And I literally had to leave work as soon as it happened. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Okay. But yeah, I ended up going home, and that was right around 3 o'clock was when all the information was coming out, and the briefing was released, and I just was not feeling it. I had to go home. I was in so much pain. And I was down and out. So turned out that I was passing a kidney stone. Hold on 1 second. Let me just go ahead and take care of business really quick. There you go. Sorry about that. I had to do some housekeeping really quick. But yeah, I ended up passing a kidney stone. The pain just took place from like 3 p.m. yesterday all the way to this morning. Finally passed a kidney stone, and it was, I don't know. I don't even know what time it was when I passed it, but we finally passed it, and I'm feeling so much better. Chantel the Canadian's in the house. How you doing? So if you guys got time, we're gonna briefly talk about the briefing that was released And then we're going to talk about all the updates that came out because TMZ was on a roll today. They kept releasing article after article, and I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. So let's see. Where do we want to start? Where do we want to start? Oh, y'all want to see the kidney stone? I took a picture of it. Just kidding. Just kidding. You guys are going to get this photo instead. Let me give you this one right here. I know, right? I passed it. I'm a dad now. Y'all are funny. Y'all are funny. You guys get this photo for now. Look at David on his nice little chair with his fresh new cut. Still in his orange jumpsuit though. All right, let's see what came out. Let's see, TMZ. So TMZ put out an article on David, who's basically talking calmly and very chatty on the podcast days after the alleged murder. So this is from the podcast that he did on Zach Sang. But let's see what he has to say. So it says David appears to be cool, calm, and collected during a podcast appearance, which came out days after prosecutors claim he murdered Celeste Rivas. During the singer's interview on Zach Sang show, published on April 28th, 5 days after prosecutors claim Celeste was killed, he is seen laid back and relaxed as he describes how he pulls inspiration for his music. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Well, I might have to refresh. What's going on here? Come on. All right. Instead, we get an ad. So anyways, let's continue then. In the interview, David reveals he felt isolated and being homeschooled growing up, forcing him to create fake scenarios in his head, which he would then translate into music, specifically with his song Romantic Homicide. The now 21-year-old singer says he played the track for his mom, who told him it was too violent. However, David tells Zach his mom's reaction was, in his eyes, the green light he needed in order to release the song. How y'all feel about that? All right, hold on. Let's go back.
Like when I used to get up and get dressed for school in the morning, I put on this cool fit. She would like, take that off, put on a suit or something like that. You know, I knew it was cool if she hated it. I played it for her in the car. And she was like, David, this song is too violent. You're talking about killing people in your music? No, not my son. And I was like, wait, I might be onto something. So I dropped it right after that. And it went crazy. TikTok, viral, 1 million views overnight. I was like, oh yeah, we cooking, boy. We cooking, boy. So right at that moment, I was like, my mom has done it again. Because if she said, oh, because I was already skeptical about the song when I made it. Like, I was like, okay, maybe it's just too dark. I don't know what I'm doing. I held on to it for a minute until I decided to play it for my mom, and she hated it. And that was my cue. That was the you go do it. So after that, it was just like, it was history, man.
That's crazy.
David, right? Always defying what his mom says. Mom doesn't like it, so he's going to go ahead and do it, right? Because all he wants to do is make his family proud. I don't know, right, Storm? She's really proud now, right?
Yeah.
That is, were you sad at the time of making it?
I was. I
Oh,
mean,
no,
dude,
Coco Mom.
homeschooling really
Uh-oh.
takes a toll on a kid. Like
Isolation.
yeah, and there's outlets like I know I'm talking to, I made a couple friends now that were homeschooled, but they had like these groups that they would go to like bi-weekly and just to socialize. But I didn't have that. Like there was no like extracurricular.
Coco Mom just gifted 10 memberships to who got them? Shout out to Coco Mom for the 10 gifted subs. Oh my lord, oh my lord. Look at all you guys just turning green. Y'all names look beautiful in green. So welcome to the inner circle, everybody. Make sure you thank Coco Mom in the chat.
Activities I was involved in it was just me at home playing Fortnite, getting schoolwork done, learning how to code and build computers for 4 years. 4 years.
Crazy.
So yeah, man, Romantic Homicide was just like, I wanted to feel what the other kids were feeling. Like everybody I knew, well, in middle school that I didn't talk to anymore, everybody had relationships. I didn't have a relationship. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be involved in this or have a heartbreak for myself. So I kind of just like made up these scenarios of myself getting heartbroken and being in love and stuff like that. And I would write songs about
who is this man lying to? right?
Damn.
What did he say?
Things that never happened. To do that, I wanted to be involved in this or have a heartbreak for myself. So I kind of just like made up these scenarios in my.
He made up the scenarios.
Why the fuck you lying?
No, he didn't. He didn't make them up. He just kept them from the public eye and thought he was really smooth and thought that he would get away with it, right?
Myself getting heartbroken and being in love and stuff like that. And I would write songs about things that never happened. And that would just become my life.
No.
But that turned out to also be a lie, right? Because in the same interview, let me just play this last part and then let me also play something in the same interview that he said, right?
So I kind of just like made up these scenarios of myself getting heartbroken and being in love and stuff like that. And I would write songs about things that never happened. And that would just become my life.
Now it's all happening.
4 years, man.
So then he wanted to write songs about things that never happened, right? Let me just show you this part too. Just make sure I find the right part so we don't have to watch the whole entire thing. I actually didn't know that he was going to say all that. Then he also said this right over here, right? Let me just go back to the question.
Oh man, bro, you're alike. That's crazy. You're really like real. It's so fire. I love them so much. Yeah,
It's amazing.
so cool.
So does it change the way you make art? Yes, obviously. It's how we got to Withered, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like in the process of, getting outside my house and exploring the world and finding friends, losing friends, finding relationships, losing relationships. It's just everything has kind of been shaping and leading up to this project in such a domino effect way,
Like just living life and it
Yeah.
feeling.
This next part right here, it's just really telling now that we know everything that we know. But listen to what he says here.
This album is my life. Like Withered is my life. Petals of Thorns and Lost Petals are what I wanted my life to be, and then Withered is my life.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If he's not telling on himself, I don't know what is, right?
Petals of Thorns and Lost Petals are what I wanted my life to be, and then Withered is my life.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Withered is his life. Now let's kind of go back, right? Because we're talking about the life that was actually lost. And we're talking about the life of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, right? Because we know that they had a relationship that started, back in November 2023? Actually, as early as January 2022, when Celeste was only 11, David was 16, 17. But we learned that in these court transcripts, right, that by November 2023, this relationship became physical, it became sexual. And let me remind you, Celeste was only 13, right? And David was 18. And the crazy part about this is David loved to tell you what was going on in his real life, because everybody knows that he was an internet kid, right? So every little thing that he did, every little move that he made, he put it on the internet. And I'm going to show you a photo that was posted on January 2nd on his Instagram that really proves that everything he posts on the internet just means so much to him. So I want you guys to take a look at this photo right over here, right? So remember on his Instagram, let me just make sure I move this. On his Instagram, he posts some photos, which is supposedly in Santa Barbara. Maybe it's not, but it's at the beach, right? He also posted this, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but he's in, I don't know, somewhere in Hollywood, and he's passing by that smoking has killed so many people in the world. And I want you to take a look at the numbers that are on this billboard. Right, so it says smoking deaths this year and counting. And you can see here that the number is 18 and 13. The exact same age that David and Celeste were when their relationship became physical and sexual, you guys. So I want you guys to take a look at all the evidence that David puts out here. It's just crazy that he has no shame letting the people know his every single move. 18 and 13, you guys. And if you guys don't believe me, it's in the court documents, right? Where is it? It's somewhere in there. It's somewhere in there. I don't know if we need to find it. I don't even know if we really need to go through the entire document, but it's in there. 1813. Yep, 1813. The date on this post, he posted this, I want to say this was January 2nd. January 2nd, you guys. This was supposedly the very same day as Celeste's last known proof of life photo. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? We always wondered what that was back then, right? Yep. Yeah, it's absolutely weird, absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Is quite literally stupid, right? That number seems low to me. It's probably really low. Well, it was the beginning of the year, right? So January 2nd. So 1813, I don't know. That's how many deaths there were in the first 2 days of January. Yeah, maybe it could be low, but I think it's just really odd that he caught those numbers at that time, right? They were 5 years apart. That's absolutely true, right? I think he was 18 when she was 13. So let's go back. Let's go back. Let me find it really quick. Oh, here we go. So it says, pursuant to their investigation, LAPD robbery and homicide detectives determined the victim and defendant met in January 2022 when she was 11 years old. They began a sexual relationship in November 2023 when the victim was just 13 and the defendant was 18. So this, I'm just saying, you guys, this is crazy. Yep. And then it said that on February 17th, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to David, during that call, the defendant claimed that he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th. Well, we know that not only did he speak to her, but we know that he had also had her hiding out in a different property. So it's believed that David was also going back and forth from both properties on Valentine's Day because he was seeing Celeste and another minor, but was stated that he was unaware that she was a minor and that she had been reported missing. Yikes. Yeah, it really is seriously so sick. Yeah, there's about 5.5 months age different, right? And sorry, you guys, I do have to continuously drink water because I am afraid I'm going to get another kidney stone. So please don't mind me. My phone is tripping, you guys. What's going on here? How we doing? You guys still okay? You guys doing good? Put a one in the chat if you guys are good. You guys are here. It's weird without music. Coconut water is good. I might have to. All right, I see the ones. Turn this down just a little bit. Where are we at? So the LASD deputies would be coming to his home, and on that day, defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood. Riverside County Sheriff's Department requested that LASD conduct a welfare check at the defendant's home. LASD deputies went to the defendant's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed, he was unaware that she was a minor and had only met the victim once in person in November 2023. Lies. That was a lie. However, the defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim that he had. What? the defendant showed deputies. So this guy, okay, so mind you, this is the very first time that I'm actually reading this verbatim, okay, because I've just heard whatever everybody else has been saying in their lives, but this is the first time that I'm reading this on my own, and I'm seeing that he actually showed this photo to the deputies, and he had this, okay, I thought that they just saw the photo on his phone, but he actually showed this photo to them. And although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. And we know that because an email was sent to Josh's family, and we're going to just assume that it was his wife, right? Because who else is within his circle that's a family member that would need to know? I'm assuming it was his wife, right? How did he get that photo? It beats me, because honestly, I think that's really weird. And what photo did he have on her phone? Because she was only in 7th grade, right? She was only a 7th grader. So what is he doing with a photo of Celeste on his phone? Despite being informed by law enforcement that the victim was only 13, the defendant continued to pursue her. And after the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. The defendant drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class. This guy, okay, so now everything's kind of starting to make sense, right? He went out to Lake Elsinore. There's a photo of it, of that kid talking to David in the parking lot. And we've gone out to that parking lot too, right? We went out there. We visited the spot. We were boots on the ground. Paying kids at Lake Elsinore. Let me just pull up that photo. Kel on Earth, welcome, welcome, welcome. And a yearbook, year 6. That is disgusting, right? Let me just pull up this photo right here. This one's blurry. Hold on. Okay, maybe this one's a better photo. Damn, they all suck. Maybe this one's better. Okay, this is the best one that I can find. So here it is. You guys remember this photo right over here? David is seen in the parking lot paying off a kid. And what we thought was just paying off, what he was doing was giving this kid $1,000. So then that way he could take a phone back to Celeste so he can continue to have conversations with her. This guy just could not leave this girl alone. He knew that her parents took the phone away, but he wasn't going to just let the communication end. So what he did was he gave her a phone. And he spent $1,000 to ensure that that phone gets delivered to her. So throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with the defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills, traveling with him to Las Vegas, traveling with him to London, and to Texas to meet his family. Oh my God. So you're telling me that this whole time, Celeste has known the family? Shout out to Kel on Earth for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. And Coco Mom, thank you so much. Oh, wow. What a generous donation. Thank you so much for your $50 super chat. Have a wonderful night. Keep up the great work. Ooh, somebody drop a Coco Mom emoji. Thank you so much, Coco Mom. Good night. Wow, what a kind donation. Thank you so much. Celeste traveled to Vegas. She traveled with him to Texas. She traveled with him to London, Texas to meet the family. This is crazy, you guys. So you're going to tell me that the family had no idea? I'm calling that cap, right?
Why the fuck you lying?
The family knows, and this is the whole reason why they do not want to testify. They filed that writ of habeas corpus because they knew that if they testified against their son, that it was going to be game over. text exchanges between the victim and defendant contain references to X, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B emergency contraceptive. That means that they were getting down and dirty, right? This is just diabolical. In November 2024, the defendant and the victim broke up, and although they continued to communicate and text messages suggest they also continued to have sexual relations. This doesn't get any better, right? And we all know how this ends, but we have to talk about it. Gogo Mom, thank you for hanging out. Please have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for coming. That man brought her to London, all the way across the pond. April 23rd, you guys. Everybody knows that April 23rd is widely known as the day that Celeste lost her life, right? April 23rd is likely the date of the victim's death, and when her cell phone activity ceased the night prior, hold on, let me make sure that we bring this back up. April 22nd, the defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages reveal that the victim's jealousy over the defendant's relationship with other women, and as the defendant led her to believe that they had a future together, she became very extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with the defendant to end his career and destroy his life. The defendant's first studio album was... This guy had an album that was coming out 2 days later, right? And he said, "You are not going to get in the way of my success." And this is where those special circumstances come into play, right? The whole lying in wait and the whole financial gain, right? You guys remember those special charges? This is those special circumstances. This is where it all comes into play, right? He said, "I'm going to be a superstar and you're not going to be in the picture." And so what did he do? He invited her over to the house in the Hollywood Hills. And what he did was he spent his own money, used his own account to order an Uber, right? Hey. This guy ordered an Uber for Celeste. She jumped in it and drove about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, right? Roughly around 2 hours from Lake Elsinore all the way to the Hollywood Hills home, and arrived at his house at 10:10. Now it says here in the document here that approximately 10:30, right? So Celeste arrives at the house 10:10, and then at 10:30, there is a text message that is sent from David to Celeste asking her where she was. This guy has got to be the dumbest mother sucker around, right? If he thought that LAPD law enforcement were not going to ping both of their phones together in the same location, what was he thinking, right? Let me just make sure I keep up with everybody in the chat. Everybody's good. Everybody's good. How y'all doing? Do me a favor, you guys. If you guys can hit that like button, we're at like 64 likes, I think. If we can just get to 100, I'd be super happy. That's all I ask for, right? Nothing too crazy. Not even a VPN, right, Felonious Flacco? T with Tambo just gifted 5 membership. Who received those memberships, y'all? Who received them? Summer of 88, Mandy, Starlight, Sharon, Praise Jesus, and Adele. Welcome to the inner circle, you guys. Thank you so much, Tambo. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This guy was, I don't know, was he smart? Was he an idiot? I mean, you guys tell me. What do you guys think? You guys know I'm talking to y'all, so... Wait, hold on. Chloe said he is young and homeschooled. It really made him dumb as fuck. This is Melissa. What's up? Well, we love you too. We love you too. Hey, where'd your comment go? He's definitely under the jail. Yeah, he ain't going nowhere, right? We heard that. I gotta make sure that I heard this right, because I heard from one of my people is that he was in a yellow jumpsuit. Did you guys hear that too, or was he in the regular orange jumpsuit? I gotta find where it said that, because I heard that he was in. Let me see, because I heard. Let's go take a look.
Get you caught up to speed on our top stories today, beginning with this: 2 high-profile murder cases go before judges today.
Brandon, welcome back to the Inner Circle. How's it going? How's it going? Thank you for renewing your membership.
Today, Nick Reiner, accused of stabbing his parents to death, and singer David, accused of murdering Celeste Rivas Hernandez. A couple of really grim stories. Fox Local's Christina Gonzalez is live at the Criminal Courts building in downtown LA with the very latest.
Man, this lady has been doing news for the longest time. If you're from LA and you've ever just listened to Fox 11 News, Christina Gonzalez has been here forever.
On both cases this afternoon, Christina, a really busy day.
Oh, Marla, I just literally ran out of the David courtroom. And I'm going to warn everybody, because what's happened today we did not expect. They're setting a preliminary hearing for May 26th. And that what happened today, the big deal today, was that there was actually an argument between the defense and prosecutors, because the prosecutors filed what they believe is their case to be presented at the preliminary hearing. Now, at that point, the defense stood up and said, we don't want the public to hear this. They tried to seal it because it is very, very disturbing. I have been able to obtain this. The judge agreed that it does not have to be sealed, so we, the media, can get it and present it to the people who you listening. But I want to warn you before I read some of these elements, this is disturbing stuff. And it's a good reason why they wanted it sealed, the defense. Let me show you some video, but please be aware, I'm going to try to be as tasteful as I can. But in essence, what the prosecution is saying is that David Burke met Celeste Rivas when she was 11 years old and he was 18. They started dating when she was 13. He was 18, and they started a sexual relationship. Now, they believed her parents found out, took her cell phone away because she kept on running away from him. And we've heard about this before, but he actually bought her a cell phone at her junior high school and actually, had it delivered to her. Now, they did have a sexual relationship for quite some time. She ran away. But here is, and I warn you, this is where it gets really crazy. According to the prosecution, the night before they believe she was killed, April 23rd, the night of the 22nd, there was a big fight, and they went back and forth with text messages. She was upset because he was seeing other girls, and she was threatening in those text messages to disclose information about him that would get him in trouble and, quote, ruin his career. So he actually gets an Uber for her, according to prosecutors, and has her delivered to his home that day, April 23rd, to come to the house. He pays the Uber to drop her off, and according to them, that is when he kills her. They say he stabbed her to death, and he actually waited, according to this complaint, until she, quote unquote, bled out. Then he took her phone, traveled to Santa Barbara and kept on calling, texting her, saying, where are you? Where are you? As her body is sitting in her house, again, according to prosecutors.
I was on mute this whole time. Dear Lord. Oh, law. Oh, Lord. Can y'all hear me now? Put a one in the chat. Y'all can hear me. Oops. Flo Joe is a noob. I was saying Nick Reiner was wearing the yellow top and the blue bottoms, indicating that those are patients that have like mental health issues, looking like a minion, right? So I heard, and the court sketch does show that David was wearing his orange jumpsuit. So maybe, just maybe, Christina Gonzalez may have gotten it a little wrong.
I want to underline that David has declared himself not guilty, okay, of all this already in court, of any charges or whatever may happen. So he goes to Santa Barbara, and that's where, according to the complaint, investigators actually found her ID and some of her stuff. Then he returns home, and get ready for this. He starts ordering on Amazon the tools that they say he used to dismember her body, including, and I kid you not, a burn cage and shovels and all kinds of things. Has the stuff delivered. And according to them, because they served a search warrant in his garage, this is where he supposedly did this, he proceeded to dismember her body. Specifically, Jaring is taking away her pinky finger because his name was tattooed on.
Good. So that's a good point right there where we're just going to stop. The part where they discuss the fact that she was dismembered. So Jesse Weber came out with an episode on Sidebar that I want to jump over to because he's going to talk about this. And I think, I don't know if this one has SF in it, but here, let's go ahead and check this one out.
Of secrecy, prosecutors have just revealed brand new, never before seen.
This episode just came out 4 hours ago, so I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but I have not seen it yet.
Never before heard alleged details in the horrific killing and disposal of a child's body in the David case. Alleged ongoing sexual abuse of a child, a vicious stabbing, a grisly alleged dismemberment with a chainsaw. The allegations against singer-songwriter David are on full display in this new court filing, providing graphic new details about...
You know what, Storm? I will not be surprised, right? There have been talks, right? Bruce Rivers said it too, right? That she's just going to cash the check and be like, I am out.
Damn!
Your boy David is going to run out of money. There's no way that he's going to be able to afford Blair. I really think that by the end of this trial, if she sticks around, it's probably going to cost him upwards of about like $15 million to just retain her. And depending how long this trial goes, he's going to be in some deep, deep shit, right? So I don't see her sticking around for too long.
What LA prosecutors claim he allegedly did to this 14-year-old girl and why. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Real quick, before we go any further, I got to tell you about our partner, Upside, okay? Upside is this app that gets you cash back, extra cash back on everyday purchases like gas, groceries, takeout. So here's what you do. You download Upside for free. You claim an offer at one of their 100,000 plus locations. You pay like normal with your card. You verify the purchase, and just like that, money back. So say I need to get gas or I want takeout one night. I'll search for Upside. I'm reportedly found in David's Tesla at a Hollywood tow yard. Prosecutors have now charged David with first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. He's entered a not guilty plea. It's important to remember that he is innocent until proven guilty. I say that especially because it can be very hard to remember.
So do you think, Obsidian, do you think that Blair Burke is, for lack of a better word, out for blood? Do you think this is her revenge? Do you think that she thinks that she has a chance? I found a funny video that we're probably going to watch because I thought it was funny about Blair Burke.
When we're about to get into these disturbing new alleged details that were revealed by prosecutors. And this is big because there has been so much secrecy to this case. I mean, remember, we just saw the autopsy report last week after it was sealed. In fact, we actually thought that we would have to wait for a preliminary hearing to learn any new details in this case. The preliminary hearing, of course, is where prosecutors try to present sufficient evidence to say, hey, look, we have enough evidence to move this case forward towards trial. And during an arraignment last week, his attorneys told the judge they wanted to get to that preliminary hearing right away.
Counsel, on behalf of your client, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors?
Yes, Your Honor.
And requesting a preliminary hearing within the period?
Yes, Your Honor. From the media reports, apparently there have been 4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to an open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not be done in secret. So we are asking for a preliminary hearing to be set at the earliest possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show
Ava believes that she's never tried a homicide, so she's there to throw the trial, in my opinion. I'm interested in who is second chair. She would easily make an effective counsel. I don't know. I mean, you might see, what's his name? I don't know. One of the Garagos jump in, right? They'd love to take this case. I can tell you that.
David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light.
Yeah, that's totally right. It depends on what size your iPhone is, right? If it's like a standard 256, I think it calculates like 156 iPhones. But it has been mentioned, though. It was mentioned, I forget where I was reading, but I heard that it was mentioned that David had multiple phones. So it wasn't like he just had like one or two phones, but this guy had like a ton of phones.
Light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that.
And that was seemingly to put the prosecutor's feet to the fire, right? What do you have? What's your evidence? There's been a lot of questions swirling over whether, you didn't get a grand jury indictment, right? Is there a weakness in this case? Remember, despite apparently multiple secret grand juries considering this case, evaluating evidence, hearing evidence, for whatever reason, they chose not to indict, or maybe they weren't asked to indict. Could have just been an investigative grand jury or investigative grand juries. Which means now it's up to prosecutors to convince the court in a preliminary hearing that there's enough evidence to move this case towards trial. The defense will have an opportunity to challenge that. But when David's attorneys returned to court yesterday to discuss when a preliminary hearing would happen, they said the original date of Friday, this Friday, was in fact too soon. They haven't had nearly enough time to review the huge amount of evidence to challenge it at a hearing. So this preliminary hearing has been pushed back to May 26th. But that's not even the big news. This is what I have in my hands. Because for the first time, prosecutors are laying out some of the alleged evidence they have against David and what they claim they could prove at an eventual trial. And I will warn you right now,
I don't know.
the claims
He
in
says
this
he's not
document
guilty.
are incredibly disturbing. Allegations that he stabbed this 14-year-old girl to death to keep her from revealing that he had been sexually abusing her. That's the allegation. That he allegedly used a chainsaw to cut up her body in an inflatable kiddie pool in the garage. More details regarding this alleged secret illegal sexual relationship. More importantly, for the prosecution's case, what evidence they have to prove that. And that's what I want to get into. So according to investigators, Celeste was last seen or heard from on April 23rd, 2025, when David, according to prosecutors, sent a rideshare car to pick her up from her hometown of Lake Elsinore and bring her back to the home that he was apparently renting in the Hollywood Hills, a trip of more than 80 miles. Prosecutors claim she was exchanging messages with David during this ride, and then she apparently never uses the phone again. Celeste's dismembered body was found months later on September 8th in a Tesla Model X, allegedly registered to David. And according to this filing, the car had been parked on the street just 400 feet from where David was staying.
I have a feeling that he's probably going to change his plea, though, right? He's probably going to plead guilty on count 2, and then they're going to try to swindle in a deal for the murder charges, or maybe they'll try to fight it. But I think he's going to have to plead guilty on count 2 because of all of the CSAM that they have, those 10 terabytes of CSAM that they found, which we learned is full of CSAM material of him and Celeste. So that is, I can't even imagine how much content he's filmed with her. It blows my mind, because if you guys know like how much a terabyte can hold, just multiply that by 10, and that is hours upon hours upon hours of video content. And that's true, right, Obsidian? He can plead guilty at any time. So you're right, for somebody's podcast. Let's not imagine, right? But 10 terabytes is massive, right? I've been doing videography for the last 2 years, right? Professionally, for like businesses. And I've bought 2 hard drives, and each of them have been 5 terabytes each. And I am barely getting close to filling up the second one. And I've created hours and hours of content for businesses that I've stored on there. So it's just crazy to just know how much, you know, how many videos can be stored on a 10 terabyte hard drive, and then to just think that he has that much content with Celeste. It just blows my mind.
Then it was towed. The manager at the tow yard reported a horrific smell, flies around the front trunk, and that's when authorities discovered Celeste's body. According to this document, it's called the People's Brief regarding preliminary hearing evidence, quote, surveillance video and other evidence confirmed defendant, meaning David, was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29th, 2025, before he left Los Angeles on a concert tour. So that's about, what, a month or so before the car was towed and the body was found. It's not clear if anyone else actually moved the car or had any knowledge of what was reportedly inside. I want you to keep that in mind. We're going to talk about it later. There's something in the filing that I thought was really interesting.
Which is true, Viking Women, right? From my understanding, they are not charging him with the CSAM, but I do believe that they are using that as evidence to show that he is guilty on count 2. So you are right, Viking. Absolutely correct. So he does not have any charges for CSAM. And I'm also curious and wondering if federal charges will be brought upon him now that we know that he's been taking her from Texas to London, right? If he took her across the pond, even to Texas to visit the fam, I don't know. You might as well just drop the charges on him, bring the feds in.
But it goes on to say, quote,
right? This is all we have to tell him, right? Right? We've already got him. But I think the feds should just step in and take over.
At the tow yard, LAPD detectives opened the Tesla's front storage compartment and observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed head and torso. A plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag contained the dismembered arms and legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been amputated and were not found in the Tesla. On September 16, 2025, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department positively identified the body from dental records as belonging to the victim. But this is the part that's new, okay? The filing claims that LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined that Celeste and David met in January of 2022 when she was just 11 years old, that he allegedly began a sexual relationship with Celeste when she was 13. David was 18. And the court paperwork revealed that investigators have been looking into David for quite some time. The filing says detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Lake Elsinore, in February and April 2024. RCSD telephonically contacted defendant.
You know what's really sad, though, is to know that the feds have been the law enforcement has been watching him. They've been aware of his actions. But for some reason, somehow, some way, this evil man has escaped their monitoring, and he was able to get away with the gruesome act that he committed against Celeste. I just wish that they were paying attention to him just a little bit more.
On February 17, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th, 2024, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. RCSD advised him that Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804 North Tahiti Place in West Hollywood. RCSD requested that LASD conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LASD deputies went to defendant's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was a 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware she was a minor and he had only met the victim once in person in November of 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim he had on his cell phone. Although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. By the way, you're seeing how in-depth this investigation was, and maybe kind of gives us an idea of why it took so long for there to be an arrest and for these charges and for the evidence to develop. But remember, prosecutors claim he killed her to keep her quiet about this supposed relationship, to not have her expose him to ruin his career. Just keep that in mind. So the filing continues, quote, despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone defendant purchased so they could stay in contact. Throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. So now I'm thinking travel records, right? I'm thinking how in-depth this investigation was. And by the way, this is the first time we're hearing just how often Celeste was with, or allegedly was with, this much older man. And it really speaks to how many people were potentially aware that he was maybe in this relationship with a younger girl, right? Members of online forums that David and Celeste were reportedly part of have said they didn't know Celeste was so young, thinking she was David's age. But if she was traveling with him to different places and meeting these people in a circle, did none of them suspect that something was maybe amiss here? I mean, again, assuming these allegations are true. You go back to the filing, quote, text exchanges between the victim and defendant contain references to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and use of the Plan B emergency contraceptive. There are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their sexual relationship. In November.
So before we continue, I do want to bring up, right, because they just mentioned the text exchanges between the victim and the defendant containing references to X, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B emergency contraceptives. And the reason why I want to stop here is because TMZ put out an article today that basically stated that the death certificate for Celeste Rivas Hernandez has been updated. And I want to make sure that I can... Let me make sure that I find the right photos because, oops. Every time I go on to TMZ and I open an article, I get a freaking ad for a fucking burn cage. I don't understand. I just had to exit it out. Look, and these power tools. The next thing we're going to get on a pop-up is a fucking chainsaw. Watch. I guarantee you. But it says here, David murder case, unknown if Celeste was pregnant or the death certificate has been updated. So basically just states that her cause of death was ruled a homicide from penetrating injuries. And it says on one particular page on her death certificate. So if we take a look here, where is it at? I think it's all the way down here in the boxes where it says 113A and 113A. Basically what that stands for in California, section 113A on a death certificate is a specialized medical data field dedicated to indicating if the female decedent was pregnant in the last year. And as you guys can see here, there's listed a letter U, and the U stands for just unclear, right? So if it was unknown, it would state that it was unknown, right? But here, now 113A basically states that it's unclear.
November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they also continued to have sexual relations. See, that's the kind of alleged evidence that is incredibly compelling. What separates this from other cases of, let's say, a he said, she said, right? That's the kind of alleged evidence.
Veronica says state prisons are for more violent crimes. I hope he stays there. Some federal prisons are a holiday for white collar crime. You know what? I think he would... I wish that they could just keep him in the jails, right? Because I hear that the LA jails out here, at least, are a lot rougher than living in prison. I'm just saying. I don't know. I've never been, but I've definitely heard that the jails are a lot tougher than being in one of these state prisons.
That supports the sex charge, but goes to the special circumstances of killing a witness, right? Remember, to support the special circumstances allegations, which you would get life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder charge or the death penalty, allegedly killing her because she's a witness to this, or allegedly killing her to silence her. It's evidence of this purported sexual relationship that's really problematic, or potentially really problematic for David.
And by the way, I have to tell you, this just came out at the time of this recording. So the death certificate for...
He's on segregation, right? But... look, if somebody wants you gone in the LA jails, they will find a way to make that happen, right? And I would assume that in the jails, there's a very large population of, that one gang out there that kind of rules everything, right? Those people from El Salvador. I bet you anything that they would love to get their hands on someone who's taken out one of their own people.
Celeste, and this is per reporting from TMZ, there's a change. It used to say that she was not pregnant. Now it's saying that section is marked U for unknown. So what is this suggesting? That it was possible she could have been pregnant? Not entirely clear.
Per prosecutors, quote, April 23rd, 2025 is the likely date of the victim's death and when all her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages reveal the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationships with other women, as defendant led her to believe they had a future together. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with defendant to end his career and destroy his life. Defendant's first studio album was due to be released on...
I did forget about him, but let's not forget, they are They are like the largest too. They're one of the largest in there. So crazy.
April 25th, 2025, so 2 days later.
Come here,
He had an
come here.
emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. I mean, to give you an idea about what was at stake and what the prosecution may use at trial or a preliminary hearing, I mean, we told you in an episode yesterday that after David was arrested on murder and mutilation charges, the video game Fortnite announced it was going to refund players who made David-related purchases in the game, saying in a statement, we hear the concerns. We have a bunch of changes we're rolling out over time. The first one will be available on Tuesday, April 28th, when anyone who purchased one of these items will be able to get an immediate self-service refund. And right now, players who request refunds for David Cosmetics via player support can be refunded. And according to reporting from the Houston Chronicle, David's song, Locked and Loaded, became the game's first official theme song in 2025. Now he's being canceled across the board. You have companies like Universal Music Group working to remove the...
He's getting canceled.
Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
songs that he apparently did in collaboration with their artists from streaming platforms. And I say all that because, again, think about what was going on in his life. Think about the height of his career at that time. I have to imagine the prosecutors are going to use this to establish the narrative that he couldn't let Celeste expose him, right? Again, these are just allegations. This is the prosecution's narrative, but you see where they're going. So investigators contend that April 23rd was when Celeste was killed, soon after arriving at that house in the Hollywood Hills. Quote, at approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, defendants sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10 p.m. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. The people contend this was part of defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. If that's true, that is a quick turnaround from when she arrived to when she was killed, right? And that goes to that premeditation aspect, lying in wait. Quote, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. At no...
Can you guys believe that, though? So they said that the Uber ride arrived at his house at 10:10, and by 10:30, he was sending her fake text messages asking her where she was at. So this is under the assumption that if she arrived at 10:10, that she was already dead by 10:30, right? Now you can 20 minutes, it depends on who you ask, right? Because 20 minutes could be the longest time for some people. It could be the shortest time, but what we do know is that she was stabbed multiple times, but more specifically 2 times, right? And those are believed to be the fatal, that's how she met her fatal demise, right? By receiving 2 stab wounds, one to the abdomen and one damn near to the liver, right? They're saying that he watched her bleed out and did absolutely nothing, right? He stood there while she bled out, and at no time did he call law enforcement, 911, or even consider taking her to the emergency room in an attempt to save her life. So in 20 minutes, by the time her Uber arrived at David's house, this man had already made up his mind, and he knew that he was going to get rid of her, right? I can just imagine. And with the way the wounds are, my assumption was he didn't have the balls to do it to her face. So what he did was he grabbed her from behind and took whatever object he had and stabbed her. And to me, I say that he did it from behind it's because the way the wound marks are, right? And they're basically saying that they were in a 3 to 9 position. So basically saying that they were flat. And if you were stabbing someone from the front, right, I wouldn't imagine that the knife wounds would be horizontal. I would imagine them being vertical. So if he was doing it from behind, that's where it would make sense to me. I don't know. I'm not in forensics, but that's just how I see it. I could be wrong, but what we do know is that she did bleed out and she suffered, right? It was a really slow death for her. And for 20 minutes, right? I don't even think it lasted 20 minutes though. But she definitely was suffering, especially if she bled out, right?
No time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt to save her life. Despite knowing she was dead and her family was trying to find her, the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant drove to Santa Barbara County. This is something we've always talked about before. Drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence.
It makes me wonder because a couple months ago, we heard that on that ride to Santa Barbara, that they were saying that David may have had help. They were saying that there was, I don't know, ping towers that have indicated that there was somebody else with him. So it makes me wonder if David actually had specific help that night. Because if I'm not mistaken, it was Garagos who had mentioned that they had triangulated, the phone towers and the cell phone pings and social media posts that had put them in a very close proximity. You're right, Chloe, right? If it was Harvey or Mark, they could have lied. Right?
At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone, asking where she was. Again, these were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after the victim's vicious murder. Defendant drove his Tesla north on the 101 freeway.
Well, Crystallo, that's a very good point. They said that he watched her bleed out. So did he record her dying on his phone, or did he have a camera in the house? Man, he is sick. Well, and to answer your question, yeah, actually he did. He did have a camera in the garage. And let me just show you guys some of the proof that we have, right? This is some evidence that David indeed had a camera in his garage. And who knows if it was up for all of eternity? So is there a possibility that it was recorded? This kid lived on the internet, you guys. But here, let's take a look.
I mean, the face eats. Face card on point.
Face card is given.
But that's all.
I'm gonna have two. Are you really not gonna pose?
You just gonna stand there.
No, do
one.
So this is a live stream that he did with a group called Cat's Eye. They were at his mansion, and I guess they're playing a game, and he's about to show them what was going on.
Too late.
Too late. Whatever.
Brandon, thank you so much for your $5 super chat. Let me see, was that a super chat, super sticker? Where'd it go? Said, in spite of David, support musicians like me. There you go. Get that shout out in. Or any kind of kids playing tunes in a garage. Let's support real talent. I hear you, Brandon. Support real artists. Veronica, thank you so much for your $10 super chat. For water or for cranberry juice. Glad the stones are out. You guys, trigger warning right here. I'm about to show you guys my kidney stone real quick. Y'all are going to get a quick sneak peek of how big and gruesome it was. You guys ready? Trigger warning. Yikes. That was big. That was a huge one. It looks disgusting. That's it. That's it. That's all you guys are getting. That's it. So thank you so much, Veronica. I appreciate that. We are going to buy some water and cranberry juice.
5 stars. 5 stars. 5.
Oh my God. Should have gave you a trigger warning for that.
I don't know what to say. I'm done. The way that this person went on this game and
Okay.
Wait, the chat can follow.
Here, this is the further proof that David indeed had cameras in that garage.
How?
You guys are gonna see it.
The way that person joined the game only to comment that.
I know. And it was literally a lie.
Trigger warning, because it's about to get crazy too when they see.
Welcome to my arcade!
So we got some arcade games.
Oh my God!
And this is the camera. Yup. Chat, what we think?
Wait, so where's the chat? Right here? Oh, here's
Basically, it was on my phone. You can see on the phone.
Wait, shut up.
Yup.
Yo!
It's lit.
Wait, where's the
It's lit.
Oh, this is so cool.
basically, only power.
Okay, Dance Revolution. Oh my god. Tired. Do you need like coins?
Nope.
So that's just further proof that there were cameras set up in that garage. I don't know if it came with a cameraman too, because it could have, right? Because there were rumors that he had help. Who knows? Who knows? That hasn't been verified, but they do say that he had help.
To San Marcos Pass Road, SR 154, near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early the following morning on April 24th, 2025, before going to a radio interview for the release of his album that week. He sent 2 additional texts to the victim's phone that day.
Wait, David is guilty. You said that your opinion on this case has did a 180 since the arrest. I'm very curious to know where you stand today.
Which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. After April 26, 2025, defendant never attempted to contact her again. And if that's true, that would be strange, right? Because if that's the case and he had no idea what happened to her, wouldn't he be desperately trying to get a hold of her? I think that's an argument that would be put forward by prosecutors. And then the filing gets into the incredibly disturbing details of how David allegedly.
Hear ye, hear ye. David goes from stage to cage. I like that one. I like that one. Hear ye, hear ye. David goes from stage to cage. How y'all like me now? He's in jail.
Cut Celeste's body into pieces. Quote, tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember or dispose of the victim's body. On April 24, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. On May 1st, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. On May 5th, 2025, defendant ordered and Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his...
David is guilty says, I only believe David was involved. I stopped supporting SF and only listening to the police. Unpopular opinion, but yeah. Damn. But at least, well, I still hope you think David is guilty.
home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez. On May 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off SR 154 where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2020.
Well, David is guilty. You got a lot of support in the chat, right? Obsidian says, I think he did it alone too, and so did Close. So he might have done it alone. I do believe that he did it alone. I mean, the court documents say that he did it alone. I'd be surprised if the defense has anything to substantiate anything else, right? I really think that he did it alone. But May 5th, I do have to say May 5th, I think this man had somebody else help. Because let's not forget that he bought 2 chainsaws, right? I don't know.
26. Additionally, on July 7th, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the same fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. We've talked about that before with Steve Fisher, the private investigator. Quote, moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments.
Wait, so now they're saying other tools? Now, let me remind you, I have not read the entire briefing. Oh, my Lord. And perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. So it's not 100% that he only used the chainsaw. Oh, my God.
Were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit. An expert was able to match a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. Experts, and if there's certain items of evidence, body parts that are missing, they'll try to make room for reasonable doubt. But it's really, you're seeing now how they are building this case and what they've been doing. I mean, Steve Fisher.
David is guilty. You are right. Neo's mom did reach out, at least in the comments of one of my videos, and said Neo did not drive. I'm going to find that one because
Talked about, what was it, like 54
she
search
did say
warrants
that.
were issued in this case. And this, by the way, is all important because we always wondered, did David have help, right? This is a monumental alleged task, allegedly done by a 20-year-old singer by himself. But I will tell you, the filing does make you question if maybe, you know what, maybe he did allegedly act alone. The filing states that David, quote, lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay in and around the home and the car. When LAPD served the search warrant at the house after...
That part's crazy. He lied because they knew that house smelled like shit. That house, I'm sure, smelled like shit. And can you imagine if there was just anybody else living in that house, whether it was Rob, whether it was Lane, whether it was Asia, whether it was Neo? Imagine just waking up and knowing that that smell lingered around the house. And what did you tell anybody who was living there? You took a shit in the bathroom 2 hours ago and it still smells. I mean, we heard you say it, you know, in the 4th of July video, but were you saying that like every day?
The filing states that David, quote, lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay in and around the home and the car. When LAPD served the search warrant at the house after Celeste was identified, they reportedly found all sorts of evidence in the garage to support dismemberment, including biological evidence that tested positive for blood. They say it matched the victim's unique genetic profile, as well as the inflatable pool, which had these multiple, quote, linear.
So, Storm, I want to ask you, right? Because for the longest time, you had a very strong opinion that the person who did the SWAT call on the parents was Neo. Do you still feel the same way? I'm very, very curious. Do you still think it was Neo?
Cuts. And I want to go through the list of evidence that the state provides, which it says will be able to present at trial to prove David's guilt. Again, allegations, but let me go through this. And by the
So, Adele, how was there a smell in the house on the 4th of July stream? I was told that the Tesla was parked right outside of the house. And if you know the landscape of how that house is, they were in the bathroom of the master bedroom, a bedroom that David did not occupy. David was not the occupant of the master bedroom. In fact, he had one of the smaller rooms. That Tesla was parked outside below the window where the bathroom's at. And that window is literally about 15 feet above the car. That is what I can say. So can you imagine just being 15 feet above that car with her body in it? And that smell is just traveling up 15 feet into the window? That has got to smell.
way, photos and videos of some of that evidence was released on X by private investigator Steve Fisher, who's been on this case from the beginning. He was hired by the owner of the Hollywood Hills home that David was apparently renting, who had a lot.
That is correct, David, right? Neo was wearing that red shirt on July 27th into the morning of July 28th, but he was not seen wearing it on the 29th. So that's where I'm having my little back and forths about Neo wearing the red jersey on the 29th. So I do have to agree with you on that.
Questions about just what was going on at this property when Celeste's body was found, and the Tesla was allegedly connected back to the singer. But since then, I've spoken with Steve many times about what he's been able to uncover, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But back to this evidence list. First, quote, the description of photographs depicting the victim naked, as well as while she was engaged with the defendant in sexual activity when she was 13. As this evidence constitutes child sexual abuse material, the photographs themselves will not be presented. While all possible charges that could be proven were not filed, the CSAM is proof of their ongoing sexual relationship while the victim was 13 and 14 years old.
Let me remind you of what was supposedly a Reddit comment that was left. Now, there's no proof, but this was suggested or rumored to be Neo's mom. It was reported that if Neo is not the last person to drive the Tesla, Steve owes Neo a huge apology, or maybe Neo owes him a lawsuit. He heavily implied it was Neo, but if it wasn't, and if Steve has proof that it wasn't Neo, what a giant douchebag SF would be. That's my guess why SF isn't releasing it. Now, this was months and months ago, right? SF has been accused of, okay, that, I don't know. Maybe the driver was Latino and he mistook the driver for being Asian, and now SF doesn't want to look like a racist. A lot of maybes, but how about Steve release the imaginary footage he has? Now, we know that the footage has come out, right? But I'm not going to lie, I can't really tell with the footage. How many of you guys can definitively tell who was driving that car? Put a 1 in the chat if you can definitively tell who was driving that car. Put a 2 if you're not even sure who drove it.
I also do wonder if you're looking at potential federal charges here. Quote, numerous text messages between defendant and the victim evidencing their sexual relationship, pregnancy, abortion, use of Plan B, emergency contraception. Messages through March 2025 prove defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, all we do is have sex and just hang out. Man, I want more than that for myself. These messages were obtained from defendant's iCloud data. Defendant's cellular activity and communications derived from defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd, 2025 to April 24th, 2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of defendant driving his Tesla on July 29, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. So Steve Fisher shared the surveillance video after the hearing on X, reportedly showing the Tesla one of the last times it was driven. It's believed that Celeste dismembered remains were inside that front trunk.
There
and the list of potential evidence,
there's that video,
2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of defendant driving his Tesla on July 29, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. So Steve Fisher shared the surveillance video.
This is going fucking fast.
Video.
Hold on. Let me just slow this down if we can. Might have to do this at like half speed.
Last time before showing the Tesla one.
You know what is crazy though? I will say that at this stop right here, it does look like somebody going like this. Whoever it is has their hand up and they are definitely covering their nose. You can see the elbow bent right there and that hand covering their nose. Tell me if I'm tripping. Unity Eagle, thank you for your $2.49 donation. What's up? What's up? Inner Circle, baby. Let's go. You agree? It looks like a woman? Really? This is crazy. I don't know. Am I tripping or do you guys see somebody like... Do you guys see somebody like this? I don't know. Is it me? Let's see.
Share the surveillance video.
Maybe we just got to slow it down a little bit more.
After
that doesn't really show anything, to be honest with you.
End of July on X.
Oh, here it is.
Reportedly showing the Tesla one.
I don't know. The window's down. That's all we know.
But
it also doesn't look like there's a air freshener hanging from the windshield wiper. I don't know. Not the windshield wiper, the mirror. This is, I don't know. I can't tell.
Last times it was driven, it's believed that Celeste's dismembered remains were inside that front trunk. And the list of potential evidence continues, quote, DNA evidence developed from blood stains.
I absolutely think that Beth has better video. In fact, if this car is running, there's video being recorded in that car. So if they're saying it's David, I mean, kind of looks like the bonnet, right? And it's funny though, because when SF was describing who it was, he was saying that the person was wearing something very distinct. I don't know. As soon as I listened to him saying distinct, I immediately thought the bonnet, right? Not a red jersey. Of course, the red jersey stands out, right? But it's not something that's distinct. If you ask me, I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong.
Collected from defendant's garage, which matched the victim's genetic profile, proof of defendant's Amazon purchases and deliveries to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, a burn cage after April 24th, 2025.
Jay, what's up,
Steve
Jay?
also shared
I agree, right? There's got to be more footage.
Photos of some of these alleged packages. You can see the deliveries are addressed to Victoria Mendez. Not clear why David would allegedly use that particular name. Quote, proof of defendant's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24th, 2025. Uber records showing defendant.
This guy really ordered. This guy ordered a shovel on Postmates. For one, I didn't even know Postmates delivered anything but food. But this guy actually ordered a shovel. This kid grew up on the internet. Did he not know that that would automatically be traced back to him?
Transaction where he ordered an Uber to pick up the victim from her Lake Elsinore home and transport her to his residence the night of April 23rd, 2025. Proof of defendant's lucrative career as a singer-songwriter prior to April 23rd, 2020.
Obsidian, you know what? In our Discord, we were going back and forth about that all day, right? Shout out to our mod, Sydney, who's a professional photographer, and she was breaking it down in the Discord and basically saying that when it comes to stuff like that, right, it's kind of like a lens distortion. And, you know, the term that we use in photography, videography is chromatic aberration. And if I can find a photo of it in our Discord, I'll definitely show you. But it happens very often with low quality cameras, lens flares, lens distortion. Let me find it and I'll just give you guys an example.
Defendant had an album release party on the night of April 24th, 2025 before embarking on an international tour in late July 2025. Text message exchanges between defendant and the victim on April 22nd and April 23rd, 2025, where the victim threatened to expose defendant and destroy his career. The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas and is prepared to proceed with preliminary hearing. Now, as I mentioned before, the court, again, decided to push this back to May 26th, and the delay was frustrating for a lot of people, including Steve Fisher. He's been very vocal on social media about what seemed to be a lack of transparency, a slow investigation on the part of authorities. Remember, David wasn't arrested until 1 year after when prosecutors believe Celeste was killed. She was last seen or heard from in April 2025. Her body was found in the Tesla in September, and then David was taken into custody, 10 days ago? So yesterday, after the delay, he tweeted, quote, from the David hearing.
So basically something that looks like this, right? So chromatic aberration is like when there's a lens distortion and it creates this prism-like effect. And this is basically what it looks like. So you guys can see here on one side, it's just a regular still image, but then on the right side with a little bit of a lens distortion, you get this prism-like effect that creates chromatic aberration. So that's where you can get these skewed appearances of different colors, which could possibly have happened in that video.
Continued until May 26th. The speedy preliminary was a bluff by the defense. The game of hide the ball from the public has started. The judge agreed to put a protective order on the search warrants and affidavits, as well as the grand jury transcripts. So much for an open and transparent system. David's defense even asked for a simple brief to be sealed. After running the worst PR campaign in history the last 7 months, not coming out with a single statement supporting their client, the defense now thinks the public will form a poor opinion of their client if the public sees any of the discovery. His lawyers seem more like publicists than criminal trial litigators. Hashtag
sad girl. It was held in evidence for 48 hours, but I'm assuming law enforcement found, or they determined that they got everything that they needed from the car. And you know, let's remember that car sat in at the what is it, the pound, what do you call it, wherever it was held at for almost 5 months, and the day before it went up for auction, it was sold privately. So why? No idea. I wouldn't buy it. Not me. But we did find it. We did go out and see it. We did find it at that body shop in LA. And what I'm telling, the impound lot. Thank you so much, Alexa. Thank you. Tow yard, whatever it was. One of those. But we did find it. We went out and we did see it. And I tell you, when I pulled up to that body shop and I seen it right there, right off of the sidewalk, my body immediately got chills because it was just so surreal that it was right there in front of my face. It was the car where Celeste had been for months. It was just such a surreal feeling. It was just really crazy. if you guys want to see a photo of what we saw, put a 1 in the chat. Some of you guys might be new. I know a lot of you guys may have already seen it, but put a 1 in the chat if you guys want to see it, and I'll show you guys some photos of that night when we found it.
Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Now, I had a chance to speak with Steve as well as certified death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan last night on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, and they talked more about these alleged grisly details. Take a listen.
We did find a chainsaw. We found a burn cage, and we knew that they were ordered in the name of this Victoria Mendez. And we disclosed that it was, in a fake name, and but we didn't know if that was a real person or not. However, all these things, and there was more things that were delivered to the house in that name, and we couldn't get past the chainsaw or the burn cage. Just there was no reasonable use to have it there.
I've had a couple of cases involving chainsaws over the course of my career, and I'll just put it to you this way:
let me find it, and I'll definitely show you those photos.
Deposition of tissue and blood, because with a regular handsaw, you would just you might get a little tissue, you're gonna have a lot of blood. This is going to sling actual tissue everywhere, and so the idea that this could be cleaned up completely, there's no way.
Absolutely horrific to think about. And I will just say, our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts are really going out to Celeste's family at this time. We've all been, demanding answers, but to finally learn some of these gruesome alleged details about what purportedly happened to their loved one, that's a different kind of torture, right? And the teen's family has not yet spoken publicly about.
So the day after SF announced that he found the Tesla, we actually went out and we found it as well. And this was one of the photos that we captured. So this was literally right there on the sidewalk. Let me show you a reference as to how close it was. This is a photo of me, I parked right in front of the body shop, and I seen it, and so I took a photo of it right from my car. So here's a photo of how close it was from my car. It was literally right there. Oops. It just had no license plate. And we know that that was his car because in the same photos that SF had, let me see right here, that they had the very same exact tape on the spoiler. So you see that one blue one right over there. This car had the same exact one. This one's a better photo. Yeah, it was just right there. And a lot of people asked me that, as soon as I saw the car, did I happen to smell anything? And the answer is no. I did not smell anything. Unfortunately, I didn't go to the front because there were people outside kind of just staring at me, and I just wanted to be respectful. But, this photo is good enough. But no, I didn't smell anything. Also, I think I have one more photo of this too. I just thought this photo was weird to see because when we looked at the car, we saw that there was the air freshener just hanging right there on the mirror. So yeah, it was really, really odd to see. It still feels surreal just knowing that, we actually ran into it.
Case per se, they did release a statement through their attorney after David's arrest saying, "We would like to thank the Los Angeles Police Department and the District Attorney's Office for their hard work. We would also like to thank the people of Lake Elsinore for all their support. Celeste was a beautiful, strong girl who loved to sing and dance. Every Friday night was movie night, and we spent wonderful times together. We love her very much, and she always told us that she loved us. We miss her deeply. All we want is justice for Celeste." And I also spoke with Steve for an episode of Sidebar yesterday to get his take on the dozens of search warrants reportedly filed in this case. I mentioned before, but take a look. Let me ask you this, 54, 55 search warrants, is that unusual? I mean, that seems like a lot. And why, how specific do you think each one was? What do you think they were for?
Well, you definitely are going to have, Apple with iCloud and his individual devices. I can tell you that he does have a lot of actual devices, a lot of phones.
Okay, so it was SF who said it himself. David has a shit ton of phones. And shout out to whoever was our 2100th subscriber. Appreciate you guys. Our channel's growing because you guys support, and I would just really appreciate it if you guys could do me a favor and hit the like button, just so then that way our videos can be just pushed out into the ether so everybody can see it, because we're a micro channel compared to all of these content creators that are covering this case, and we're just we're trying to slowly catch up, right? We've got a very long way to go, but we're just trying to catch up, you guys. So if you guys can do me a favor, hit that like button. If you guys want to support the channel, we've got many ways to do it. I don't know. I'm not even talking about it. We got Cash App, Buy Me Coffee, Venmo. If you do want to support the channel, it does help. It does allow me to go out to these places, be boots on the ground, go inside the courtrooms when I can. So any of your support like that definitely helps. And I promise you every dollar that I make goes back into this channel. So I appreciate you guys.
And then you're going to have Google and stuff like that. But there was a search warrant issued as late as April 20th, so after his arrest. And there was another one that looks like it falls on like the 5th or the 6th of April. So they were issuing search warrants right up. I think there was a total of 7 that I saw that were issued in 2026.
Do you think that's something he had on him at the time of the arrest, or something at the property where he was arrested?
I think they probably had some sort of I think that when they arrested him, they cataloged, what was there, and then they got a warrant immediately, kind of like they did with the car originally. They went there, they verified that there was a smell in the car, they immediately got a search warrant to enter the car. Probably the same thing. And Beth alluded to that. Actually, she said that she didn't know at the time if there was gonna be significance from those returns or not.
Let me ask you this: do you think that those warrants also include materials possessed by other individuals that are not David?
Certainly, I definitely think there's going to be at least cloud type of data, other Facebook account or Instagram accounts, Meta, let's call it. And iCloud, they specifically leaned into iCloud a lot. They said that there was over 10 terabytes of data from one iCloud account. So, which, listen, I can kind of see, the guy's a musician, he's probably got a ton of music, ton of video, raw video and everything back up there, but it's still a massive account. I've heard reports of them saying 10 terabytes of child porn. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a 10 terabyte account. Yes, I think
that would also make sense if it was a 10 terabyte account and maybe it wasn't full of all that material, but who knows? This guy's weird as fuck. So he absolutely could have. You're right. Even 1 terabyte is a lot, right? Imagine 10.
Are wrapped up in this. I think all his inner circle people have had all their accounts subject to search warrant by their social media accounts, and including his management.
I'm glad you mentioned. I mean, this is something we talked about previously. Prosecutors say he was in possession of child pornography. We don't know if it was allegedly of Celeste or someone else, but that was interesting and made me wonder if there could be federal charges on the horizon for him. Real quick, if they unseal these search warrants, you, me, everyone's going to be able to see them?
We'll be able to see who they were served upon, and we'll be able to see what the return was. Not saying the data, but the return filed by the police saying we recovered, this account, data from this account. We'll see it on a general basis, and we'll see who it was served upon, what they were looking for, and what the probable cause was, which is going to be the real tell in this thing.
Tambo, you're saying that I need some merch. I agree, but I'm just afraid that if I do make merch, that it'll just sit and sit and sit, and we won't sell anything. So if you guys really want merch, let me know and we can really be serious. I know you guys have talked about it, but I just want to make sure that if you guys really do want merch, let me know, so then that way I can really get down a bit. I've already started talking to somebody too, so we are looking out for that. So I do want to let you guys know that we're working on it.
The probable cause was to get the search warrant.
So I encourage you to check out that full interview. It's up right now on Long Crimes YouTube channel. We'll of course.
Okay, so Nancy Grace also dropped another video that we're probably going to check out. We may not watch the whole thing, but we'll check it out. She posted this about 6 hours ago. It's not a long one. It's not as long as all the other ones that she's done. It's about 36 minutes. So, stickers. Okay. We'll get some stickers. Magic in the Mundane. Glad I found your channel, Justice for Celeste. Well, we thank you for being here. If you're new to my channel, do me a favor, drop a 1 in the chat. We want to make sure that we shout all of you guys out too, right? All of the new people who are just barely discovering this channel. Let me know so we can shout you out. Donna Suzanne, thank you so much for stopping by and being a part of this channel. Thank you for your support. Texas Angel, Mama Llamas, thank you. Well, we appreciate you guys being here. B. Alexander Media. Go. Go, you've been a day one supporter. What you talking about? You've been there since day one. 808 TV says, yeah, 131 likes. It's a lot for a small channel like mine, you guys. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Detroit said 1 from Rabbit. Shout out to Rabbit. You know, there's a lot of content creators that I really admire them. You know, a lot of these content creators who cover true crime. Y'all are the inspiration. You guys know who you are, because I'd be emailing you guys all day. So shout out to all of you guys. Jessica Sillery Ross, thank you so much for your $10 super chat. Hey Flojo, I appreciate your coverage. Found you through Rabbit. Is it okay to say go follow Flojo on other accounts? Hey, I don't mind. Tell people to follow. Do whatever you can. Like, share, subscribe. You know, our channel's growing, and we can only grow with your support. So if you guys want to support the channel, by all means, do what you guys got to do. Right? You like that it's a micro channel? Yeah, I mean, the goal obviously is to grow, right? But we're in it for the long run. So we're going to take our time. We're going to grow as we do, right? I'm here for it. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this Nancy Grace video. Drop a Tesla in the chat and a Nancy Grace emoji in the chat so we can get this video started, y'all. Let's go, Nancy Grace and her Tesla. Here we go, y'all.
A star musician, multi-millionaire musician, D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke,
You are a Flow G.
watches while Celeste Rivas, 13, a little schoolgirl, 13, bleeds out in a hidden kiddie pool. Bleeds out in a kiddie pool while he stands there and watches. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
She looks like she's about to cry. I really hate that StreamYard does not show like the custom emojis. All it shows is a Nancy, or the Tesla. StreamYard's got to fix that, you guys. Otherwise, we're going back to OBS. They got to fix this. I do not like it.
This little girl partially skeletonized, her left eye gone.
We don't know why they wanted to keep it secret for so long.
Hey, we got our girl in the chat, Guilty of Crime. Jay, she's really great content creator. You guys should definitely go follow her. Every time I'm on her channel, she's always shouting me out. So it's only right that I give a shout out right back to her. So do me a favor, go follow Guilty of Crime. I'm putting the link in the chat right now. So make sure you go follow. She's also going to be at CrimeCon, you guys. So definitely check out her page.
When I read this, I felt nauseous. I got hot all over because I think of Celeste as that little girl. Repeat. I have just reviewed the People's Brief regarding preliminary evidence in State versus David Anthony Burke. And I've got to tell you, I prosecuted a lot of homicides. I've handled cases where bodies were rendered, all sorts of cases.
Let's go.
This is beyond practically anything I've ever seen. Joining me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning, straight out to Joseph Scott Morgan.
This guy has been all over the case, and he's been blessing us with his expertise and his knowledge. This guy is fantastic. This guy is just a world full of knowledge.
A professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University. He's the author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon. He's the star of a hit podcast series, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. But most important, he is a death investigator with over 10,000 death scenes under his belt. Did you read this? That's a yes, no. Yes, no. Did you read it?
Yes. I sure did.
Okay, I really don't know where to start, but can we start with D4VD, David Anthony Burke, stands by.
I'm surprised she's calling him David Anthony Burke, because for the longest time, she's been calling him David Allen Burke. But Nancy's finally got it right. She's finally got it right.
And watches Celeste bleed out in a blue kiddie pool. Remember the other night I was talking to you and I said, you know, what we are learning is that there are tiny fragments, microscopic fragments of blue plastic in her body, in the cuts on her body. And we were talking about, where did that come from? What could it be? Now we know that SOB placed this
We got to check that
girl
one out then,
to
Chloe.
bleed out in a kiddie pool. It's more than I can take in.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're using the term bleed out, because let me explain something to you real quick. The injury, which in my opinion, and I think that the ME coroner holds this opinion as well, is the lethal injury here is going to be the liver. Nancy, if you sustain trauma to the liver.
Really quick, I do want to ask you guys, do you guys still believe the frozen theory? I'm curious if some of you guys still believe the frozen theory, because after learning what we've learned, and I'm going to keep repeating this, there's absolutely no way, my opinion only, that she was ever stored in a freezer. I don't think he gave a shit to preserve her even after death. I just know that this guy was really scared, right? He obviously, he lied about the smell, right? He didn't have the balls to tell anybody the truth, whether or not people knew. He didn't own the house, right? This man literally had nothing to his name except for that fucking Tesla. And that was the only place that he knew that he could hide her and get away with it, because there was no way in hell that he could hide her body in that house without the entire place smelling like shit.
I've seen this with stab wounds, gunshot wounds, and motor vehicle accidents. It is not a quick death. This is an agonizing death. The liver is very vascular. Next to the brain, it is the most vascular organ in the body. And so as she was laying there, having had this happen to her, where she is attacked with this weapon, and they're not being very specific here. We know it's sharp. Nancy, she would have bled out, or exsanguinated is a fancy term, but bled out into her abdomen. And it's not one of these things like a gunshot wound, all right, to the head or something like that. That's not what we're talking about here. It would have been a slow, agonizing death that she would have gone through. That experience specifically is enough to send a chill up and down your spine.
Trey Lovell, veteran criminal defense attorney, trial lawyer, founder of the Lovett firm, joining us out of this jurisdiction. Now I see why the prosecutor is discussing the death penalty in this case. And yes, D4VD is over 18. That's the cutoff set by the U.S. Supreme Court. The death penalty will apply if it is implemented. If
she belongs to the streets.
David belongs to the streets.
It is handed down by a jury. Trey Lovell, could there be anything more aggravating? That's a term of art. To prove the death
I love that you guys are showing Guilty of Crime some love. There you go. Make sure you guys go sub up.
Penalty. The state must prove special circumstances, special aggravating circumstances. According to what the state says, they can prove in a preliminary hearing, David Anthony Burke, stood by and watched this little girl bleed out in a kiddie pool. They got him busted buying on Amazon, for Pete's sake. Idiot. He buys it on Amazon. It can be traced to him. And just for fun, let me throw this in for you, Trey. He used a fake name. He used a different name to buy the kiddie pool. Look, I bought kiddie pools before. I didn't have to use a fake name for it. That's just another element of proof right there. Trey, what do you do with that? A kiddie pool. He watches her, stands there and watches her as she dies. That's cold.
Well, listen, the death penalty is absolutely the most draconian, worst sentencing that we can have. So we're way ahead of ourselves. We need to establish the basic elements here. We need to establish the evidence and ensure, what this guy did. We're at the very beginning. We can't be making judgments at this point. These are egregious facts, but there's a number of things that could have happened that would mitigate the situation on his end, maybe not on somebody else's.
Yep.
So we're way ahead of ourselves in terms of talking about the death penalty now.
Did you say mitigation? Did you say, what? Was he a Cub Scout? What mitigation is there possibly out there that would reduce the fact that the state says in writing, this isn't a courthouse room or up and down the halls outside the judge's chamber, They put it in writing. They can prove he stood there and watched her, as Joe Scott Morgan says, exsanguinate, bleed out. He watched her die.
These are allegations. Evidence has just started, and we can't get ahead of ourselves. The death penalty is the most draconian sentencing we can have in California, and we've got to make sure, you know, that we meet the elements and we go forward. The death was horrendous.
There's a mugshot for you, David is guilty.
Susan Hendricks is joining us, investigative reporter and journalist, author of a bestseller, Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murders in Delphi. Susan Hendricks, just the portion about him buying. I mean, we've got Amazon orders out the yin yang here, technical legal term, but he is busted buying a blue kiddie pool. And I know where the kiddie pool was used. It was hidden in his garage, his downstairs garage in that mansion that he was renting. Let's see a shot of the mansion. Maybe I can get a shot of the basement door. So the blue kiddie pool, the inflatable pool, was in the basement, and that is where she died. That is where she was rendered. My question is
the kiddie pool is.
I'm curious though, right? Because SF said that he found a chainsaw in the house, but that one was unopened. So what did he do with that other chainsaw? And I got a report that the chainsaw that was used, or that was at least delivered to the house, was a gas-powered chainsaw. Not an electric one, but a gas-powered one. So if this motherfucker used a chainsaw, a gas-powered chainsaw, that shit is not quiet.
So horrendous. I wonder what his train of thought was, thinking, oh, I'm going to order this. And this is so she won't bleed everywhere. It's horrific. And that's what the DA said, Hochman. This is a parent's worst nightmare.
There is the shot, Susan. If you can look at your monitor, this is from our friend Harvey Levin over at TMZ. There is the garage door.
That's a better photo of the garage. Thank you, Zenso. I appreciate you.
You and I know what that means.
Yeah, and she's in such an advanced state of decomposition, Nancy, and that's critical. Actually, it was as a result, I think, probably to a great degree, of the orthodontic work that she had done. Remember, this child had braces.
I don't know why they keep sharing this photo. I'm going to keep telling you every time I see it, this photo is fake. It's AI. It's not real.
All right, let that sink in just for a second. And because of those braces and the work that had been done, the orthodontic people would have had extensive records on her teeth. And I'm assuming also that they ordered these up pretty quickly. You've got a dentist that's cooperating with the ME in order to get her tied down, get this ID tied down as quickly as possible. And it could be, I don't completely buy it. It could be that maybe from a sampling standpoint, the DNA was degraded. Again, I'm not necessarily buying that, but they went with dental ID here, and that's going to be critical because it's very distinctive. We all have very distinctive teeth, Nancy, and even if you've had orthodontia done, they're still unique to you because we not only look at the teeth where they're visible, we actually look at the root system on X-ray, and we can do examinations relative to that. The forensic odontologist can, and they turned this around apparently pretty quickly because they needed to verify that this was her because you knew that she was missing.
That's why I think they did it, Joe Scott.
With her.
I think they used dental records because they couldn't wait on DNA. They already knew of Celeste Rivas' existence. They knew she was missing, and they wanted to get that dental match. They wanted to get an ID on the body immediately, and dental records were the fastest way to go. You're
think so.
absolutely right. Back out to you, Susan Hendricks, is joining us. I was just taking a look at all of the things this idiot ordered on Amazon. Hey, does this name ring a bell? Brian Koberger ordered the murder weapon on Amazon. Let's take a look at Brian Koberger's case.
That really tripped me out when she said that. That's crazy.
Bar knife that he ordered, that came back to haunt him. He can think about that.
Look at that photo of Celeste.
Prophet, self-appointed prophet, Chad Daybell.
Jess, what's up?
What
Chad?
she saw in him, not sure. He was married, but before his wife died, i.e., was murdered, she, cult mom Lori Vallow, goes on Amazon and orders her wedding dress and a ring and her soon-to-be groom's outfit for a beach, B-E-A-C-H, wedding on Amazon before Tammy Daybell, the wife, is dead. So you've got, for instance, Koberger ordering the K-bar knife.
I think the deletion came first, right? If I'm not mistaken, the deletion came first. We'd have to take a look at the documents to see when, but I think the first thing he ordered right after the death of Celeste, I think the first thing he ordered was the shovel on Postmates. I could be wrong, but I think the very first thing that he ordered was indeed the shovel. Somebody correct me though, because I don't have the document open right now.
Right. You've got cult mom Lori Vallow. Does nobody, I mean, second verse, same as the first. And you've got D4VD, David Anthony Burke, ordering. I had to make a flow chart. He ordered a body bag. He ordered a heavy duty laundry bag, a shovel. He ordered it all on Amazon, and then Ding Dong tried to use a fake name.
Listen, he's 18 years old. You know, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. The last thing he's thinking about is
no, he's not.
He's
What?
not 18 at the time.
Trey Lovell, he's 21. He was 20 at the time Celeste was murdered. And speaking of ages, they met, and that's certainly a euphemism. They met when she was 11. 11. And he gave her, according to these bombshell documents, a secret cell phone so they could text and send naughty pictures back and forth. 11, Trey Lovell. Back to Amazon orders.
Yeah. Yes. You know, listen, he's a young guy.
Cat's here, you know, I think that's a really good point. I think unless they have any kind of hard evidence, I think it's going to be really hard to determine when she was dead. But they did mention that all of the activity on her cell phone ceased the night of April 23rd. And not only that, he took the drive all the way out to Santa Barbara in that remote location where he tried to discard of her items. And I don't know if her phone was one of them. But now that I think about it, the triangulating that they probably did was when David had his phone in his pocket and Celeste's phone in his car, whether or not she was in the car. But that's probably how they were able to triangulate everything. So I don't know, but they probably don't have any kind of video evidence, but all of that circumstantial evidence is going to point to April 23rd. Who knows? They might have video evidence that we don't know about.
It doesn't have the benefit of having lived a while. You know, this is probably something he's obviously never been faced with, and it may have affected the rest of his career and his life, and he acted accordingly. You know, so we can't expect people like this to be dotting their I's and crossing the T's. And obviously, you know, post murder, assuming it's him, he took steps that he thought would try to hide it, but obviously in this day and age, you can't do it. So, you know, that's the problem of youth when you try to commit, when you allegedly commit a murder like this.
I love the way you said he was.
Mama Llamas, you think he hit her with the shovel or planned to dig a grave? I can't remember when he got the shovel, before or after. So it was confirmed that it was after her death, ordered on Postmates. I do, however, think that he did consider burying her. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the briefing document states that he made several trips out to Santa Barbara, not one, not two, but 3 trips to Santa Barbara. So this guy really thought this out, or he just kept replaying this area in Santa Barbara in his head. And I forget where I saw this, but looking on a map, the drive from Lake Elsinore to Santa Barbara is about 5.5 hours. So obviously you subtract an hour from Lake Elsinore to Hollywood, so that's about a 4.5 hour drive. This guy was really needed time to think about what the hell he was going to do, right? And then on the night of April 23rd, when he went out there until the early morning, knowing damn well that he needed to be back for all of the shit he was going to do for his album release.
Young. Guess what level? She was younger. 11 years old when this whole sordid thing began. Back to the evidence. You know, the orders on Amazon. Back to Susan Hendricks, investigative journalist, joining us from the field. Susan, what all did this idiot order on Amazon?
Yeah, I have a list here too, and you're
Here
right.
we go. So April 24th, he ordered the shovel from Home Depot on Postmates. May 1st, he ordered 2 chains. So obviously between April 24th and May 1st, which is literally like a year ago now, he was back and forth doing all of these shows, Band Lab. He had his album release party. He did the 100 Thieves party in Culver City. Then he was out in New York where he met with his family. I don't know if he met with his family or if his family was already here, right? So that's a point of contention right now. Was his family in LA around the same time, or did he meet his family? Because there are videos of David wearing the same clothes at the 100 Thieves party that he was wearing in a video with his little sister. He's got the do-rag, he's got the Catwoman shirt on. So, you know, I don't know, David happens to wear the same clothes often, so who knows? Maybe he didn't change. You know, he is a little dirty.
A body bag, garbage bag, the burn cage, which I'd never heard of. As you said, Home Depot, the shovel, just on and on. Picturing him on his cell phone, scrolling like we all do through Amazon, getting, I don't know, laundry detergent. No, things to get rid of a body. And you're right, just 11 years old when they first connected. 11, with braces. The parents got involved, said, no, you can't see her anymore. What'd he do? He went to her middle school, paid a kid $1,000 and said, give her this phone.
David is guilty. You remember this one right here, though?
I'm gonna shoot him where he laying. I'm gonna shoot him while he down. Take his body hit the ground. I'm gonna murder all my friends. Call me Melly in the town. I'm not getting indicted. I'm shooting him on sight, and what? He gonna pull up in deny it. I might testify in court. Hey, Your Honor, I did not buy it. I did not.
Oh, now we can say, Your Honor, I did not buy it. Is that what he's talking about, Your Honor? I did not even buy it. Right? He's talking about the shovels. He's talking about the kiddie pool, the chainsaws, the burn cage. Your Honor, I did not even buy it. I just wanted to rely it.
Testify in court. Hey, Your Honor,
Okay, hold on. We got to go back because he says, I might testify in court, Your Honor. I did not even buy it.
He gonna pull up and deny it. I might testify in court. Hey, Your Honor, I did not buy it. I did not even try it. I just wanted to rely it.
Holy shit, we gotta give him for that freestyle. Jesus Christ, he did it. Holy shit. Man, David. This guy is something else. Hold on, let me find. I lost where we were at. Where are we at? Where's the video? Uh-oh. No. Did I exit out of it? Oh Hope I didn't. Sorry, y'all. I gotta look for it. Oh, here we are.
And they continue to communicate. A baby in middle school.
Hold on just a moment. Can you repeat that about D4VD paying one of her classmates $1,000 so they would give Celeste a secret cell phone? What?
Yeah. Reported missing by her parents. She went back home.
Busted.
Summertime expenses stacking up fast. For many, the only option is Utter joining us, clinical psychologist specializing in evaluations in the criminal justice system.
Darling Jess, sending you and Mama Flo support. Keep up the wonderful work. Justice for Celeste. Thank you so much, Jess, for your donation. Thank you for supporting the channel. We appreciate you guys. And do me a favor, if you guys haven't already, hit that like button. We superseded my ask for 100 likes, so we're at 150. So I do appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
She's the author of Mainlining Philly, Survival, Hope, and Resisting Drug Addiction.
No.
The author of Aftershock, How Past Events Shake Up Your Life Today. She's the producer of Utter Nonsense documentary, and you can find her at drgeraldinutter.com. 11 years old. And he is just that visual that Susan Hendricks just conjured up of him scrolling through his phone, finding just the right kiddie pool to watch Celeste bleed out in their hidden basement lair, ordering all of these items: shovel, burn cage, kiddie pool.
Don't forget, he also had gas masks there, right? They don't talk about it much, but there were gas masks. So he was definitely planning to burn her all up at some point.
Chainsaws, it goes on.
There is such a disconnect from individuals like Mr. Burke recognizing that the person that was allegedly killed, Celeste, was a human being. There is such a huge detachment. I mean, when you look at the behavior, and I don't, age has nothing to do with this. I don't care if he was 18, 21. That's even scarier. The fact that he was so young, allegedly committing these types of crimes. And it's just so disheartening. So when you look at this, I deal with homicide cases, I deal with extremely violent cases and do risk assessments all the time where somebody unfortunately loses their life. And I work with the perpetrators. And what I can tell you, that's so disturbing for me about this case is the sheer detachment of recognizing.
Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. You say you're late, you're ultra late. It's okay, but you're here now. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ronan, for that $5 super chat. Somebody asked how many masks he had. I want to say, I remember hearing 3. I want to say I was told 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Humanity. There was no empathy. There's no remorse. He is not looking at this little girl as a human being, let alone a little girl. So it's just, it's so upsetting to have to sit and to read and to take in all of this information. Again, when you're going and you're buying all of these different things, you're buying a burn cage. I mean, it just goes to speak to the depravity of it all and how we're not dealing with somebody with one issue, which could be, a pattern of antisocial behavior. We're dealing with a lot of things, somebody that's attracted to children, violence, obsession with murder and death and how you're going to hurt someone, watching someone bleed out. There's so much to this,
right?
From a personality perspective, it's just devastating, Nancy.
You mentioned obsession with murder and death. Dr. Geraldine, I don't know if you've seen the visuals of his PR campaign where he is wearing bloody clothes, selling bloody clothes. Joining us now, Steve Fisher, special guest, missing persons private investigator, search and rescue specialist, the owner of Search Investigations. He was hired by the owner of that Hollywood Hills mansion where D4VD was renting at the time of the murders. And you are the first person to say the words.
I hope you guys have your gifted memberships on or accepting gifted memberships. I'm going to drop 5 in the chat in a few minutes.
Fire cage or burn cage or home incinerator. What did you observe?
We found the burn cage at the house after the search warrant was executed. It was, going back now, you can see it in images from live streams and videos that he took at the house. He didn't seem to have a care in the world that it was there for the friends to see. We found the chainsaw, and several packages in the name of Victoria Mendez from Amazon, including the burn cage.
Is there a Victoria Mendez?
Not that we have found. It appears just to be an alias he was using.
To Steve.
Now I'm waiting for more information on that, but there is a mention of a Victoria in and around this story. And when more information comes out about it, I'll make sure that I let you guys know. But I do want to let you guys know that we have been looking into a Veronica. So we're getting more information on that. And when we do, we will let you know, because I've got a team of people working on a little bit of information about that.
Fisher, before I get back to what we learned about her body, specifically why 2 of her fingers were cut off. You know what? Let me just go to Joe Scott right now. Joe Scott Morgan, remember a couple of nights ago that you and I were talking about 2 of her fingers on her left hand were missing, right? Some of the fingers were gone.
Yep.
And why? And they were never found. Never found. The rest of her body found in 2 separate bags, but her fingers were gone. They were amputated. Did you know that one of those fingers was the one she had his D4VD's name tattooed on the finger?
Yeah, I have since found that out, but I got to tell you, it's
ASMR. You want me to do ASMR? No, I've never thought about it, but I do watch it sometimes to help me fall asleep. Not gonna lie, that does help me sleep, but I've never done ASMR.
not surprising because that's a specific identifier that could be tied back to her as a person. And she was a person, Nancy. And he's wanting to get rid of that. And I've had cases like this before where we've had victims that are in an advanced state of decomposition. They've been dumped. I've had hands cut off, heads cut off, those sorts of things.
We're going to watch
And
that
so-
one
and
next. That'll be the last one.
It's a feeble attempt.
I'm going to drop the 5 gifted memberships right now. So good luck to all of you guys. I hope you guys receive one. Let's see if it'll let me do it. All right, y'all. Here's a 5 gifted memberships. So good luck.
Particularly in the face of modern forensic science, to try to keep these people unidentified, because it's always been my contention in any death investigation, Nancy.
I dropped it in the wrong live.
You can determine who the person
Shit.
is. It's like the proverbial sweater that mom
Right.
tells you not to pull the string on.
Here
You
goes
pull
another
that string,
5.
and this whole thing comes unraveled
Great.
relative to it pointing back to this individual, Nancy.
Hi, guys. Nancy.
All right, you guys, I made a mistake. I dropped 5 gifted memberships in the vertical live, and we don't really have too many people in that one. So I just dropped another 5 in the horizontal one. So good luck. Hope you guys get it. My bad.
Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first with real-time analysis. Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Stream it first on Fox 1. I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend. Hey, Joe Scott, look at that picture again. I know you and I deal in forensics.
Hey,
and-
wait, Ronan, you just dropped 5 gifted memberships too. What? Shout out to Ronan for dropping 5 gifted memberships. I almost missed that one. Thank you so much, Ronan. Appreciate you. Everybody, to the new 15 members of the Inner Circle, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Probative value evidence. But look at this. Look, don't take the photo down. This finger was amputated because it divulged the identity of the victim. But wait, keep looking. This is her ring finger, and she is wearing an engagement ring, a traditional engagement ring. This little girl, the whole argument,
Which is weird though, right? And I do want to make sure that I bring this up too, because I have found another image of Celeste. Well, now I don't know if this photo is of Celeste as well, but this photo right here is her. I'm assuming this is also Celeste too, but this is also another photo of an engagement ring and somebody with the tattoo of David. But if you can notice here, it looks like this ring is a little different, right? You can see that there's a little bit of, I don't know what you call these, right? But you can see that it's like indented here, which is a little different from this ring that she's showing here. So that's a little different. Maybe there were multiple rings. Maybe it's another girl. I don't know.
thing blew up when she, Celeste, got angry that D4VD.
Nebby gifted 5 memberships too. I appreciate you, Nebby. Thank you for holding it down. Thank you for supporting the channel. We appreciate you, and good luck or congrats to the 5 people that received the gifted membership. Make sure that you thank Nebby and Ronan in the chat if you guys received the gifted membership. Make sure you thank them. Thank you guys so much.
Not quit sleeping with other people. It hurt her feelings. She's a little girl. She's 13. She said he promised her a future, marriage, children, a life together.
You
and
did.
She's even wearing a faux engagement ring on her ring.
So what do you guys think though? I want to ask you guys, do you guys think that this right here is also Celeste? I mean, the font on this tattoo matches damn near identically. The ring just looks a little different though. What do you guys think? Foxy says could be a nested set. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but could be. I don't know. What y'all think? I don't know.
Finger with the tattoo on it, dreaming that she was going to be Mrs. David Anthony Burke. That breaks my heart. And her little broken heart that he would not quit dating other women led to her murder because she threatened to reveal their relationship. He was on the verge. Let me go to Steve Fisher on this because he's made an incredible timeline.
Yes, I think it is too.
He was on the verge of dropping an album and launching a world tour. Celeste could have ruined.
Thanks, Felonious. I appreciate you. The nested set is the ring type. Okay. I hear you.
The whole thing. He could either marry her or kill her.
Yeah,
Rocco. Wait, hold on. Rocco just gifted 5 memberships too. Shout out to Rocco. Thanks, A-Ram. Who received those gifted memberships? Who was it? Who's the lucky one? Who is the lucky one? Who received them? Glorious, Nate, Christine, Tanya, and Julie's. Welcome to the inner circle, you guys. Y'all are really supporting the channel tonight. Damn, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the support. Y'all are really holding it down. Damn.
Were minors that he was that she was upset about, and I'm in touch with them, and it's just really sad. This is grooming to the fullest extent. I'll tell you one other thing that somebody called me that now that it's comfortable, this David's been arrested, and they told me that Celeste had been trying to get the ring back to David, and he.
Wait, Celeste was trying to give the ring back to... Okay, so I haven't heard this. Obviously, I haven't watched this video yet, but SF is saying that Celeste tried to give the ring back to David. Now we're seeing that there possibly could have been 2 different rings. Damn, she was starting not to like this motherfucker.
And they told me that Celeste had been trying to get the ring back to David, and he wouldn't take it. She was like trying to cut free from this guy. Of course, you know, she's being groomed, so she's still got this thing, you know, where she's having trouble doing it, but she wanted to break free from him, and he would not take the ring back. He would not let her go.
Steve Fisher, you
That's so
have
sad.
exclusive video of D450's Tesla being moved around in the neighborhood, and you are allowing us to show it. I want to thank you for that. Let's see Steve Fisher's video. What am I saying, Steve?
So this is July 29th, which is the last day they're actually in Hollywood because they're leaving on his tour, on the Wither tour, is beginning that evening in Santa Barbara. And this is the car being moved from the house. The house is right around where the car starts. It's right around that corner there. And it's coming down to where it wraps around to Bluebird. And this is somebody moving the car. I think it's around 10:30 in the morning. I might be off by an hour or so there. But they have the window down. The car's super dirty. You can tell it hasn't been moved in an extremely long time. They did the windshield wipers once or twice to get rid of it. And it's a lighter skinned, person with wearing red,
I don't know.
sleeves and that red type of.
I can't say for sure who that was. I really can't say who that was. But what I can say is that somebody left a comment under one of our videos a while back. And after doing a little bit of, tracing back, it did come back to an account that belonged to Neo's mom. And the message under one of our videos said, Neo did not hide out with his mom. He lives with his mom. He was never served and he never drove the Tesla. He is not in a plea deal and he has nothing to hide. He was cooperating with the DA already and the arrest is completely bogus. Nancy, referring to Nancy Grace, is Melinda Ducketing him. That supposedly came from Neo's mother.
So
sounds like Neo, one of his best friends.
I don't know, you guys. That video is very, very hard to tell. Tanya says, I really think he had help. There's no way he could have done all that by himself, but maybe he was alone because the body was still in the car. I don't think that there was anybody else in the car at the time that they were moving the Tesla. I think if any of his friends knew at all, they didn't want to be caught in that car with that smell, because I'm sure that smell lingers too. If you're in that car for any period of time, imagine having that car with the windows up for hours under the California sun. The inside of that car must have smelled horrible. And from one of the photos that we saw earlier, it really looked like somebody had their hand up to their nose and pinching their nose shut. So I don't know. But after all this, I don't know. Neo might have been telling us the truth, you guys.
Who has not been charged, who appeared at the grand jury, who is not a person of interest.
So First Liberties Podcast, you're asking who the hell is Melinda Ducket or Melissa Ducket? Melinda Ducket. There's a lot of history with that case, right? And I don't know all the crazy details, but I do know that it was a case that Nancy was covering and she berated this person. Now, apparently Melinda Ducket was accused of killing her son, I think 7-year-old son. And Nancy Grace was trying to get her on the show, and I think either had her on the show or after the show, Melinda Ducket ended up committing suicide. So I don't know if the comment that the mother made was referencing the fact that all the comments and the berating that Neo was getting, that it was making him suicidal. I don't know how to interpret that message, but that's what I got from it.
Steve Fisher, what is the date of that video we're showing right now?
July 29th, 2025. And this is the date. This is the last
you're
day
saying
there.
the windows were rolled down and it's coming out of D4VD's mansion. Do you believe that Celeste was already, her body was already in the front trunk?
Absolutely. Yes.
Why?
Because they leave. This is the last day that the car is driven. They leave that evening, early in the evening, late afternoon, on a tour bus for the first.
Oh yeah, Chloe. Yeah, this, I don't know when this happened. I think this, I'll look it up really quick and I'll get a quick breakdown of it, and I'll let you guys know right now.
Leg of the tour, which starts in Santa Barbara, and ironically in Santa Barbara, or I'm sorry, San Francisco. And so this is it. They leave and they're not back until the search warrant, after the search warrant is executed. Now, somebody is back, not David, but somebody is in that house the day before the search warrant is executed. And we don't know, we haven't narrowed down the two people, but we don't know exactly who. But David and is out on tour and doesn't come back before.
So really quick, we just mentioned the Melinda Ducket case, and I do want to make sure that I give you guys a little bit of background so you guys can understand the comment that was left under one of my videos. The disappearance of Trenton Ducket. On August 27, 2006, 21-year-old Melinda Ducket reported that her 2-year-old son, Trenton, had been kidnapped from his bedroom in Leesburg, Florida. Melinda claimed that she found a 10-inch slit in the window screen above Trenton's crib after she finished watching a movie. Police quickly became skeptical that there were no signs of forced entry other than the screen and no physical evidence of an intruder. Melinda was soon named the primary suspect. Now, in regards to the Nancy Grace drama, Grace heavily criticized Melinda for her vague answers and her refusal to take a polygraph, which Melinda said was on the advice of her attorney. Grace famously pounded her desk, demanding to know exactly where Melinda had been, essentially accusing her of being involved in the disappearance. Sadly, on September 8th, what a crazy date this would fall on, right? September 8th, 2006. This is crazy. September 8th, 2006, just hours before the taped interview was set to air, Melinda Ducket died by suicide and at her grandparents' home. She left behind a note expressing her love for Trenton, but also her frustration with the public ridicule and criticism she faced. So that's a little background on Melinda Ducket and the case and the comment that was left under one of my videos.
She's found.
What an idiot. All the digital evidence.
Idiot.
Ordering from Amazon, Postmates, Uber, where he lured her, according to these documents. Isn't that true, Susan Hendricks, that the night we believe she was murdered, D4VD.
Who was that? Gamer for Nintendo. I think the last time that I checked, which was right around the time this comment was posted, Trenton Ducket was never found. So 20 years later, and his case has still not been solved because his body was never found.
He orders an Uber for her. She arrives at his home, and she's never seen again.
Yeah, using everything that we may use every day, as you said, Amazon and Uber, having her delivered to his home, knowing exactly what he was going to do. And it's gut-wrenching to think, just a baby, 11, as we mentioned, her body was discovered, I learned, September 8th, and her birthday, she would have turned 15 September 7th. He threw her away like trash. How long was she in that car? It's just excruciating to think about.
You stated he threw her away like trash after he ordered her up like a pizza delivery, like he's ordering Chinese. He just orders an Uber. She comes over. That night, we believe he killed her, according to these bombshell documents. And out to you, Joseph Scott Morgan, he goes to the trouble of ordering a blue inflatable kiddie pool to use so she won't bleed on his floor. But guess what? He didn't get rid of all the blood, did he?
No, I think that it's probably an empirical impossibility. You know why? Because she was rendered, according to what they're saying, Nancy, with, and I've worked cases, and they are some of the most brutal cases that you can encounter from a rendering standpoint. This is critical in the sense that, just let me give you one quick stat. A actually moves at anywhere from 12,000 at the top end to 15,000 RPM. That's revolutions per minute. What the ME is saying relative to the report, they're talking about how the edges are clean. And I had a lot of questions about this when I read the autopsy report, thinking about, well, that's probably reasons you're seeing this embedded plastic on the surface of these injuries. And one more thing here, They alleged that he had done this in the garage. Now, I don't know how thoroughly they were able
Let's
to clean up, but they
go.
had to have recovered something. And Nancy, he himself, whoever the perpetrator was, would have absolutely
right?
been covered in all of this debris off of her body.
Well, look at page 6, Joe Scott. Page 6. Inside the garage, detectives discovered evidence consistent with what happened to the victim's body, the rendering in the inflatable pool. They find biological samples. Especially with the way that she was killed, the blood that is flying around, hitting everywhere in that garage. Also, there's a ton.
Zenbella, that's a very great point for them to choose that color. Is the David on her finger supposed to represent or look like the red string? And is that a reason why he mentions that it can be cut? Right? Because he did mention that in the Zach Sang interview. Is he specifically talking about the red string being able to cut? Very great point, Zenbella. Wow. Great observation. I like that.
Of digital evidence that we're hearing about. Susan Hendricks, what else jumps out at you tonight out of this document that we've just obtained?
That less than 24 hours later, after allegedly murdering her, he goes to the opening of his album at the 100 Thieves Cash App compound.
Ronan, I will say yes. I will say yes, that it is an electric chainsaw. But that's all I can say.
Out there partying, and as I mentioned, the motive. They were arguing on the 22nd. 23rd comes around, gets the Uber, brings her to his house. He knows what he's doing, kills her, acts like nothing happens, and all he thinks about is getting rid of her. That's it. And himself. Goes to a launch
and then goes and parties. Look at that, Steve Fisher. We're showing a shot of the party you first told us about, Steve. These are your photos. What happened?
Somehow he is within 24 hours, out celebrating it. And what I don't understand, and maybe Joseph can speak more to this, can you even clean the scene up within this amount of time before he's at this party to the point where, LAPD, when they came out and did that search warrant, they didn't turn it into a major crime scene. They weren't in Tevic suits after they found some, they were only there a few hours. So I'm confused how he was able to clean it so well by himself and then have a party the next night that started at 9 p.m., not super late. So I still have a lot of questions after this affidavit or after.
I've got a question about how he was out there partying after he just murdered and rendered a little girl, and he's partying. I mean, career before all. There was no way in HELL he was going to let
HE double hockey sticks, right? Alexis said the theory she explained in a beautiful way to him, he took it and twisted it to fit his creative genius or his evil genius, right? Because this motherfucker was not creative at all from what we've seen.
a little 13-year-old girl destroy his world tour and his album drop.
We'll find it right now.
No, nothing will get in the way of that. Well, how does life without parole or the California death penalty feel now, David Anthony Burke? You can think about that as you await trial. You're on cross-examination. Who is our next sponsor? Well, here is a probative clue. Meow. Smalls makes fresh human-grade food designed for cat for life. Thanks, 66890. We remember.
All right, put a one in the chat if you guys are still there. You guys are still hanging with me. I got 2 more videos to show you guys, and then we'll call it a night. I just want to show you guys this video because I saw this online and I just thought it was funny. This is by a creator called Sia the Clown. And this was basically a video of how stressed out David's lawyer has been lately. And thus will pull out of the case. So I want you guys just to take a break for a second, right? Because no matter how serious this is, we got to find time to just laugh a little bit. And I found this funny. Some of you guys may not find it funny, but I'm sorry. I apologize. Too bad. We're going to watch this video because I thought it was hilarious.
The hell? Hey. Hey. Come on, man. You got to get up. I'm being nice today. I'm having a good day. I don't want to do anything bad. Come on.
He put everything he did. He put everything he did in his songs. What he hired me to do this for? He knew he wasn't gonna win this in the first place. This is the fucking geese, man. Shut the fuck up.
Sir, okay, all right, sir. Leave the geese alone, please.
Where am I at?
Sir, you're outside.
Am I in jail? I'm the one that shouldn't be in jail right now. That nigga should be in jail.
Okay, so you're starting to piss me off a little bit. So you're not in jail. You're outside, intoxicated and publicly on film. So can you care to explain to me what the hell's going on, or do I need to escort you out of here?
I'm gonna get the fuck out. Just give me a second.
Trying to be nice.
I'm laying all over goose. Everybody looking at me. When the fuck everybody looking at?
All right, sir. So you're kind of causing a scene right now.
I'll be this fucked up too if y'all was this nigga's lawyer. This nigga did that weird shit, and he was on fucking Fortnite the next day, man. Make that make sense.
All right, sir. I'm gonna have to get physical in a couple seconds if you don't get out.
I'm gonna get up, man. Just give me a second.
I gave you like 2 minutes.
I need my drink. If you don't shut the fuck up, I swear to God.
Sir, what the hell is your beef with geese?
Officer, I swear, I'm about to go over there and kick them geese ass.
Okay, let's not add any more to your list of charges. All right, come on.
I'm gonna get up.
Oh, goodness gracious. You okay?
My drink.
Okay, hold on now. I don't think it's smart.
Just let me get my fucking drink.
David Anthony Burke is in trouble. Blair Burke is going to dip, and David is going to have to hire a public defender. Someone who probably knows the courts a little bit better. Someone who's local. Someone who might actually fight for David. I don't know. What do you guys think? Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if David has a chance. And put a 2 if this motherfucker is going straight to jail. It's going to be proven guilty on all 3 charges. And he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail, life without parole, or the death penalty. All right, you guys. Last video I'm going to share. This one's Trapmore Ross. I know some of you guys are not a fan, but we're going to watch him. This one is a video that he just put out about 2 hours ago. It said David's family knew Celeste all along. So let's take a look, you guys.
This video is going to be a deep dive into the families that are involved in the David situation. Not just David's family, but also Celeste's family. Now, look, I've called on people to kind of lay off of Celeste's family. I don't think that this grieving family really deserves the hate and negativity that's coming their way. And a lot of people do agree with me. There are people still asking questions and pointing fingers at the family, but a lot of people are basically, very rightly so, pointing out how bad David's family are in this situation. Now, there's posts going around on Reddit saying they created a monster, okay? Said the public wanted smoke with Celeste's family when it's actually David's family that seemed to be more complicit. Their child was addicted to gore and cartel execution videos as early as 12 and 13 years old. This is important. Why didn't they catch this? No one should give a kid access to any device with free reign on the internet. They were around Celeste on more than one occasion. They had Celeste in their Texas home while she was still listed as a missing teen. After a few conversations with a middle schooler, you know they're a kid. His parents didn't care she was a kid. His parents had to have been some of the people that visited the rental home on Doheny and asked him about the smell, not just friends and associates. Neither one of his parents asked him hard questions or monitored his online activity as a child. There's no way you'd call yourself homeschool teachers and not monitor what your child is doing all day. David was seeking to...
Really quick, anchovy fish in my job, Flojo, have you ever had any experiences seeing any similar injuries? Nothing as gruesome as what Celeste went through. So hands down, I'd have to say no. I've seen a few like minor accidents. I've seen a hell of a ton of crazy like stage 4 wounds, some gunshot wounds, but nothing as gruesome as a chainsaw accident. Because well, this was no accident, right? But yeah, no, for sure, no.
Lure and groom kids as early as 15 through Fortnite and his Discord. It's sick. The ultimate person to blame is David. However, parents ignored or were willfully ignorant to many red flags. They're saying these clowns created a monster. Okay, at least one monster. Let's see how Caleb turns out. But we got at least one monster on our hands. People saying, I wonder if the parents look back and think, where did we go wrong? It's odd because they were deeply invested in certain parts of his life, but then free willy in other parts. That formula obviously didn't work. People saying, I don't think his parents have the ability to self-reflect. They probably blame it on fame and evils of Hollywood, when in reality, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that their son is evil and they enabled it to all happen. They clearly don't care about their reputation or how this affects their other kids because they continue to stand by him. That says a lot about their character. Okay. It says if his parents truly wanted to do something impactful, they wouldn't have hidden his assets during all of this, and they would have denounced his actions. That alone screams shady to me, and that's my perspective. My opinion won't be changing until I see meaningful action from them. You don't have to agree, but this is my own perspective. Also, I find it interesting how people are telling me not to make assumptions about this situation, but gladly will make assumptions about me for my opinion.
You know what, really quick, I listen to Trapmore Ross. I do just wish that he would just, shout out the Reddit people a lot more than he has, because some of these people on Reddit could be you, could be me, but I don't know. Reddit is the GOAT, though. Drop a 1 if you're deep in the Reddits, because Reddit is absolutely where it's at.
Because it doesn't align with theirs, okay? So people saying it's funny that they isolated him, probably thinking other kids would be a bad influence on him, when in reality, at least there would have been people holding him accountable, because clearly they didn't, okay? It's a completely random speculation here, but what if his parents pulled him from school because they were scared of what he might do to other people or to avoid the scrutiny of others? Someone said, my son asked me if he could download Discord at 10, and I said, hell no. He said his friend has it, and he's also 10. Parents are failing their kids, and it's making me the bad guy because I said no. Effing 10-year-olds on that app with all that harmful shit on there, unbelievable. It says, I caught some creeps on Roblox trying to teach my daughter disturbing things. I'm sure these are older teens or grown men, and they were in her chat saying, I hate your mom. Part of the grooming is getting the kid away from their parents and framing the parents as the bad guy for protecting them. It says his parents have his parents testified in front of the grand jury yet? I don't think they did. I think they were ducking that, as far as I know, in my opinion. Says, as a dad, I would have called other parents and letting them know where their daughter is. David's parents must have problems, I think. Says they definitely should have been able to tell that Celeste was only a couple of years older than their daughter, bro. Shame on them. Said he took Celeste on tours with him while his parents were around as well. So many people had to have known her age from travel documents, etc. It beggars belief that nobody in his life put a stop to it or turned a blind eye. The immediate blaming of Celeste's family feels like an extension of victim blaming to me. So it was revealed Celeste's parents did take her phone away, which contradicts the narrative that was started about her parents. Everyone said they were getting payouts from David. Parents that encouraged the relationship or were getting payments would not have tried to completely stop communication with him. Very good point. All right. And David paid $1,000 to her friends to give her a phone. We know that now. People saying, I won't be surprised if they try and go for an insanity plea. He'll go for a psychological evaluation. If he does, it will come out how much internet exposure he had as a young child to pee and gore and how isolated was. At the very least, when it's finished, his parents should face child neglect and child abuse charges. That should be a lesson for parents who act naive about the dangers of the internet. Okay. So look, there's a lot of breakdowns. There's a lot of thoughts on this. All right. Something I want to point out. So SF Investigates did a new update, and he's kind of talking about Celeste's living situation. So he said here, a couple of months ago, we disclosed that David was under investigation by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department and that contact had been made with him by the West Hollywood Sheriff's Department. That was confirmed yesterday and will effectively eliminate any defense that he didn't know Celeste's age. As we stated, detectives made David Anthony Burke aware of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's age, even though he already knew. What's also very troubling is that Celeste was at home in Lake Elsinore on April 23rd, 2025, when David sent an Uber to bring her to the Hollywood Hills. She had been reported missing for a full year earlier, and it was never reported to detectives that she was no longer a missing person, but she wasn't attending school. So on April the 23rd, 2025 was a Wednesday, a school night. She should have never been traveling 80 miles in an Uber to go and meet David. It's a good point. Okay. Now it sort of points the finger at the family, but really it just points the finger at just this should have never been allowed to happen. And David is the person who is responsible, allegedly. People are saying that's such a long drive, especially if it was during the week and rush hour. She would have been in that Uber for hours. I wonder if that driver recalls picking her up since it's such a long and expensive ride. Or if
You guys think that this Uber driver testified in the grand jury? I mean, I feel like this would have been like the one of the number one witnesses, especially if April 23rd is the day that this Celeste lost her life.
they have recordings or audio. The idea she left her home, spent hours in the car on the way to her brutal death, eats me up inside. Said they would have more than likely made contact with the Uber driver, given law enforcement stated the last time she was seen walking into his house could be through cameras, but I'd be shocked if they hadn't made contact with the Uber driver. Says, I don't care what anyone says, her parents failed her. They should feel complacent in all of this. They knew damn well and let it happen for a multitude of shit-ass excuses. Failure to protect at a effing minimum. Failure to protect a child is a legal term where a caregiver is deemed responsible for a child's endangerment due to willful neglect or failure to stop abuse from another person. It often applies when parents fail to keep children safe from domestic violence, physical abuse, or neglect, leading to CPS investigations or criminal charges. I don't agree, but let's just hear people out, okay? It says they absolutely did. Way back in high school, I left the house to go to a city council meeting 5 minutes away from the home. My mum was furious to me I hadn't told her. I left the house even though I was only gone for an hour. I can't imagine just leaving the house to go from Lake Elsinore to his home in Hollywood. It's such a distance. I'm an adult and my parents always know where I am. It's sickening and I'm sick of people defending the parents or excuse. Now, this is going too far. People saying they might as well have killed her themselves. No, let's not. I disagree, but if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. It says the world is unfortunately full of shitty parents who have no problem shifting off their underage daughters to older men if it provides them a benefit. This could either be directly some form of payment or having him alleviate some of the household financial burden by covering the girl's costs. The parents need to be held accountable too. Now, that's all well and good, but if they actually didn't want her to see him and they were taking away the phone, and I believe I read that Celeste's mother was sleeping in the same room as her so she couldn't climb out the window at night. So I think it's a little bit unfair, and I think they probably did as much as they can. Okay, it says, did the parents know about David? What other reason would they have not to report him to the police? People are saying they were paid. That's why they're hiding their faces. I think people are going a little bit too hard on the parents, honestly.
And so we know that TMZ, they put out an article today too, right? And they were basically saying that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's parents were cleared in 2024 child neglect probe. So all the way back in 2024, I guess they were looking into the family of Celeste Rivas, and the parents were investigated over allegations of child neglect and abuse about a year before David allegedly murdered the 14-year-old runaway, but law enforcement found no wrongdoing, TMZ has learned. When Celeste went missing from her family home in Lake Elsinore, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office tells us it opened an investigation that year on April 27th. That was a couple weeks after Celeste was reported missing for the second time. It's unknown who called to complain, but RCSD tells TMZ the person expressed concern about a juvenile who had run away. They were told that deputies responded and interviewed everyone who was at Celeste's home, but the investigation found no evidence of child neglect. The thing is, Riverside County Sheriff's Department says deputies were unable to interview Celeste, who had not been located, and therefore were unable to determine if a crime had occurred. And Celeste's family reported her missing on February and April of 2024. And according to prosecutors, Riverside County deputies called David on February 17th after finding his number in Celeste's phone records. And he claimed he had last spoken to her on the 13th and 14th of February, but also told deputies he didn't know she was a minor. He didn't know that she was a minor.
Why the fuck you lying?
I don't know if he's telling the truth, y'all. He didn't know. He did not know.
But anyway, what is really interesting, and people are pointing out, they're saying that basically...
Right, Ronan, right? And no evidence of a child either. No evidence. She wasn't even there.
David's family knew, and the victim blame of Celeste and her family need to stop. And this is a passage from the document. Basically says that she was reported missing. Defendant basically was called, and he was visited by the LA Sheriff's Department. All right, they did a welfare check. They informed him that this was a 13-year-old runaway. She was a minor. He said, I only met her once in November. Showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim on his cell phone, thought she was older, claimed to be unaware where the victim was at the time, and she returned home 2 days later. Well, She was about. Could you imagine going back to... look, this is hard to imagine because none of us would ever do this, but it's like Could you imagine getting a welfare check from the police and they're telling you the girl?
It's funny, Obsidian, right? They knew David's email for management, and they were saying that it was someone from the school, but then it was also a family friend of Celeste's family. So was it a family member who worked at the school? I don't know, right? But somebody knew who David was.
We were messing with 13.
And they sent it to Josh and his wife. I'm going to say they sent it to his wife because that's the only family member that has anything to do with this. Josh and his wife.
What, you close the door and go back, and what, she's still in the house, you get back to it? What the hell is wrong with this guy? He had every message and every opportunity to stop what the fuck twisted shit he had going on, and he didn't take it. Okay, and here, as we can see, this absolves the parents. It said that the defendant David continued to pursue Celeste.
King's daughter says his manager said he didn't have contact with his clients too, right? Just like the OD and pregnancy. Well, you know what's funny is also that Josh was the person who was on the lease and David was not. So David and anybody in that house was living there illegally, right? And the homeowner had no idea that David nor anybody else was living there, right? that I can confirm that he had absolutely zero knowledge of anybody other than Josh living there. So during the conversation, it was mentioned that Josh was going to be the person living there. And it turns out he never lived there.
She returned home in February. Her parents took her cell phone away, and David drove to Lake Elsinore to pay a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give her a phone so they could stay in touch. And then she kept locking in with him, disappearing, even going out the country is crazy. She actually went and got a passport to go out the country, right? So I think you got to leave the family alone.
Right.
It says, I hope today's doc drop helps correct people who are victim blaming Celeste and her family. Also, according to this filing, it was his family that was aware of what was going on, not hers. And it said here, she was taken to trips around to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. So not only is it federal trafficking, but also the family knew. It says he drove to her city and paid one of her classmates to give her a phone, then later on invited her to meet his family, and they knew she was likely underage. There's no way they thought she was 18. They're so weird. What was his obsession with this 13-year-old child? He had money, he had fame, he had adult women that were no doubt trying to pursue him, and he kept going against the law to keep a relationship.
Oh, where's that? Shout out to Jay. Your video just started playing in the background. What up, Jay? That's crazy.
Going with a middle school child. Not even that. Her parents just let her come and go as if she's an adult. I'll never get it. I'm not going to read that comment because that's fucked. It says his parents just seem well delusional. It feels like they knew there was something deeply wrong with him, but they just let him do as he pleased. There's people are saying David's manipulative. Maybe he lied to them. It says, how on earth did she travel to London without the parents' consent? It's crazy. Okay. It's saying, so she had a passport, but how did he get her to London? I don't want to think about it. I'm assuming either through his management or through his family. Some adult had to pull whatever string they needed navigating the parents' consent. Now, I'm about to tell you something crazy, and I didn't even think of this.
You know, right, Obsidian? I mean, they were all in contact, but you know, they probably didn't do much because they knew that Esmeralda was also coming around the house, right? SF had confirmed that there were, I don't know, the Build-A-Bear certificates there. They went to Magic Mountain or Six Flags together. So the family knew, right? And I'm sure the family probably asked Esmeralda, is this a good idea? Is he good? And Esmeralda probably signed off and said that she's fine, being taken care of. I don't know, but maybe they should be asking Esmeralda all these questions because she was seen with them too.
Passport's got your mother flipping date of birth on it.
Thanks,
so if she's traveling to London on a real passport, I don't think this guy's not smart enough to not leave a trail of blood in his garage. I don't think he's smart enough to get a fake passport that works and take that risk. That's international crime, let alone the murder. So it probably was a real passport. Sounds like it was her real passport that identified her found on the side of the road.
So we know we know for a fact that Celeste had a passport because in one of her last new photos to come out, there's a photo of her in El Salvador, right? So the only way that she's able to travel out of the country is if she has a passport. So her family had to have gotten her a passport for that trip, meaning that she had a passport, right? That simple as that.
So who on earth is organizing this trip? Who on earth is typing the information from that passport into the website when you book your tickets? You have to do that. You have to put in the passport info. You have to put the year of birth. So unless David was personally booking these flights, somebody else is complicit and somebody else would have had to know. That's what I think. All right. And I'm wondering if it's the label or the family. Okay. Crazy. There's plenty of blame to go around. It is mostly on David, but to say her family, his family, her family, his friends and manager didn't know he was screwing minors and saw things and did nothing is delusional. Celeste was a minor and all of the adults woefully failed her and it cost her her life. David couldn't do what he did without the adults looking the other way. Everyone other than the victim failed. And it says, but her parents were cool with it and he paid the parents. He wouldn't have had to go around the parents to buy a second phone if they were cool with it. Okay, people saying exactly. The internet's been wrong before. There hasn't been any real evidence to convict her parents, but people are coming for them out with their pitchforks out. The fact that this grown man who was financially wealthy with access to many things was manipulating her into believing this was a love story is the most important part of his routine. Saying she had to be abused to run away isn't accurate. Being manipulated by a man with money who can provide more than your own parents without any rules might be an attractive lifestyle to some kids. I'm shocked that people were so unwilling to see how the grooming worked. Okay. It's crazy. It says, obviously, the focus of the case is on the psychopath that literally...
I mean, has anybody here in the chats ever flown private? I've never had the luxury of flying private, so I don't know how security checks are when you're flying private. I mean, maybe she wasn't flying private during the London trip, but is it easy to get around like the TSA checks? I don't know. Somebody balling in the chat, let me know, because I've never taken a private jet.
Cut up a little girl, but it's not fair to pretend her family should take no blame. Said young girls do not run away from home multiple times if all is good at home, and plenty of parents do not file reports solely for the sake of getting CPS off their ass while fully knowing that the dude is a PDF doing bad stuff to the daughter. Now, here's the thing. I feel like even this comment, it's like they're going a little bit hard on the family. The family wanted her back. They took away the phone. They were filing reports. They probably didn't know what to do, and they probably had their own shit going on. Okay. So I've seen this.
So, Veronica, I'm assuming that you've flown on a private jet. You still have to present your passports. Okay.
This going around, and they're actually saying that Celeste's family have been officially cleared in the 2024 neglect probe. So this was posted on TMZ, and apparently the parents are absolutely in the clear, and I accept that. Okay. Now it says there is a caveat.
To know.
The Riverside County Sheriff's Department were unable to interview Celeste, who had not been located, and therefore were unable to determine if a crime had occurred. So maybe that, basically it's saying that, they would have interviewed Celeste about mistreatment at home. She's unfortunately not here. She can't answer for that. But ultimately, the parents are cleared. Okay. So a lot of people are arguing, they're saying they deserve child neglect charges for allowing their daughter to run off not once, but twice, and not report the information they knew until after her death, and also possibly taking bribe money from David or Celeste giving them money. But yeah, people saying if it was a black family, they would have charged the parents with the 14-year-old's murder. It's a bit of a reach, but perhaps there is definitely an institutional racism that goes on. But anyway, this is the full TMZ article that says that the parents were cleared, and there's new pictures of Celeste going around. And again, she just looks so young and small. It's so sad. It said Celeste's parents were investigated over allegations of child neglect and abuse about a year before David allegedly murdered her, but law enforcement found no wrongdoing. When she went missing from her family home in Lake Elsinore, CA, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office tells us they opened an investigation that year on April 27th. That was a couple of weeks after Celeste was reported missing for the second time. It's unknown who called to complain, but the Riverside County Sheriff's Department told TMZ the person expressed concern about a juvenile who had run away. We're told deputies responded and interviewed everyone who was at Celeste's home, but they have found no evidence of child neglect. Thing is, they said they weren't able to interview Celeste, who couldn't be located, and they couldn't determine if a crime had occurred. So who knows? Maybe if she was given an opportunity to be interviewed, she might have said, they beat me up, they hit me. I don't know. Okay. She could have said anything, or she might have said nothing. So it's hard to go from. Now, this is an interesting post. People saying, I wonder what Blair Burke, David's lawyer, is thinking now that she knows that David's parents knew and hosted Celeste at their house in Texas, trafficking a minor, especially if she just hired David's father. Hired, that's not official. I believe that.
So I did look it up for that comment that was in the chat that said, is there a London in the United States? And there actually is. There are 4 cities named London in the United States. There is a London in Ohio, a London in Kentucky, a London in Arkansas, and then there's a London in California. Didn't know that. Crazy. Oh, there's several other places in Texas, West Virginia, and Minnesota. And then New London in Connecticut.
There's some sort of connection between the company he's working for and Blair Burke's company, but I don't think that he has officially been hired by them. Okay, people are saying he's employed at Blair Burke's law firm, but I don't think it's the same. See, it's not the same law firm. It's a firm that's got some connections to that law firm. But anyway, people saying, I'd wager David and his folks have been lying to Blair Burke. She probably looked at the report and recognized a number of tall tales her clients told her. I take some comfort in the fact that her deal is mostly celeb crisis management and that she doesn't do many homicide trials. Her last murder client got life in prison, not a stellar record there. Okay, he's saying he's a dumb shit. Lying to your attorneys is the dumbest, most catastrophic move anyone could make, and I hope he's doing it often. People saying, I don't think Blair Burke will keep the case. I agree. I think tomorrow, who knows, we might be seeing Blair Burke saying, I'm out. That's ridiculous. All right.
I've never been.
So people are saying she probably just wants her name attached to another high-profile, controversial case. I believe the original comment said she had no soul. I wouldn't say that. She definitely wasn't getting enough sleep, because when I saw her in court, she was looking nearly as frazzled as David. And Beth Silverman, the DA, was looking on point. She was looking dialed in. So this is the latest as well. They're saying Celeste's death certificate has been updated and it's unclear if she was pregnant. Now, there's talk that from the messages that there was a pregnancy, there was Plan B discussed. It says there's new documents updated in the death certificate for Celeste. The document now reflects the fact LA County medical examiner says she was murdered, and it's unknown if she was pregnant the year before she was killed. It no longer says not pregnant. It now says unknown. And the cause of death has been corrected from deferred to multiple penetrating injuries, and the manner of death is from pending investigation to homicide. So it is truly official now. The document was also corrected to say the injury date, hour, place, and location are unknown. And the section stating describe how the injury occurred.
Actually, there's a post on Reddit that talks about David going to London, and it also goes back to one of the people that was recently discussed on the Reddits, and I don't know if you guys remember, but let me just refresh your memories if you guys did not see it. But so this is probably something that you guys probably didn't see going out, but there was a post on Reddit that also showed a few photos from David's camera roll, and this one says that it was dated January 23rd, that come directly from David's SD card. Both contain embedded metadata confirming the same date, 1/23/25, with no visible signs of alteration, making this a solid timestamp. The first image shows a dimly lit studio. So basically just showing where David was at. So 1/23, he was at a studio in LA, and it's believed to be the studio of Jack Hollenbeck. Jack Hollenbeck is also a producer who has been credited on producing what songs? Afterlife on the Withered album. And then let me see. There was another post. You guys might remember that name because there was a very viral video that was going around where this took place too. A conversation was had at some sort of gathering, and I want you guys to listen to this.
Where are you from? You need to be invested in this?
Which one? Is it Whitaker?
It's fucking farm boy. I'll beat the shit out of
Freak
it.
out.
Are you still dating that
I love him.
dating that
I love freak out.
Are you still dating that
I love him.
Are you still dating that minor? And then also there was another one that just came out today. Jake Hollenbeck was also a name that was mentioned when David went to London in one of his videos. I'll have to find exactly what video it came from. And Coco Mom just did a $20 super chat. Just saw you guys were still on back to bed. Thank you so much, Coco Mom. Where's that at so I can highlight it? Thank you so much, Coco Mom. Appreciate it. Almost missed it, but thank you so much, Coco Mom. You're back to bed, so I hope you get your rest. I forget. Maybe it's not out. Maybe it's not on Reddit yet. But Jack Hollenbeck was definitely a person that was credited in one of David's post regarding him going back and forth to London. She shouts out like 3 people.
Yes, I agree with that. So people are saying this is normal. Most of them say unknown, so it's pretty standard. But obviously with the
J Rabbit, if you have that video, can you send me the link and maybe possibly a timestamp if you can?
The messages that came out, it is clear. Well, not the messages that came out, but the paperwork that said that they had messages that would suggest that David and Celeste had discussed pregnancy. And so they're basically, just to reiterate, this is that evidence where prosecutors said they have evidence of Celeste being pregnant, because texts that were recovered between them refer to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B contraceptive, as well as illegal photos and videos. Okay. So people just, can't believe it. But look, okay, I think that David's parents have a lot to answer for now. I think that we can stop pointing the finger at Celeste's family and really, really start pointing a lot of fingers at David's family. You hosted her at your home. We already saw you guys sitting with her at the Fonda Theatre. The victim is sat in between your 2 children, next to your daughter of a similar age.
And you know what? It just sparked me right now. I wonder if the photo... So, do you remember when SF released photos after January 2nd and said that there were photos of David going back to Texas, and then he filmed a music video out there? Then they showed that weird, creepy photo of the shed outside. I really wonder if Celeste was on that plane back to Texas, and could that have been the time that she met David's family? What better time, right? I don't know. You guys tell me. What do you guys think? You think that could be a possibility that she probably went out there? Because now we know that she was alive past January 2nd. Everything after that comes into question now too.
Absolutely despicable. For them to still be supporting David after all of this information has come out is absurd. Okay, I don't have kids. I don't actually want kids, but I know a lot of people do crazy shit for their kids. You know, a lot of the rationality goes out the window. You do anything, you die for your kids. This horror show, they need to throw this kid under the bus. This one's no good. All right, need to put him back where he came from. Get rid of him. All right, just leave him to languish in jail doing life. Focus on Caleb. Caleb's going to try and get his music career going. I don't think people are going to support that. But anyway, it's over. All right, it's over. I don't think there's any way out of this. And I think the family, they're persona non grata in the community as well. They're probably going to get kicked out of the church. They are absolute dirt. All right, their names are in the mud where they're from, and rightly so. So I'll keep you guys updated if I hear anything else. There's another video I wanted to do on this, but I'm a bit tired.
All right, looks like he's calling it a night, so we are also going to call it a night there. I know we didn't get through much of the briefing, but your favorite content creator has probably already covered the hell out of it, so I recommend you go and check one of their videos out. Whoever, do me a favor in the chat. I want to know what content creators you guys are watching. Who do you get your news from? Because as you know, Flojo is watching every content creator as well. But I also want to know who you guys recommend. Who do you guys suggest? I want to know. Drop your favorite content creator in the chat. Nice screenshot of Ross. Yeah. See? Kadisha Lynn. Yeah, Kadisha Lynn is solid. BJ Rabbit. Strategic Eyes. Shout out to all of them. Courtroom Confidential. Rabbit, of course. Brittany Jean Corville. She is pretty dope. She's really dope. She did... Shout out to BJ. She did a 9-hour marathon yesterday, and she stuck it out. She did not get up once, didn't eat anything, barely had a few sips of water. I give it to her. Okay, the interview room, STS. I watch him too. Brian Enton. Brian Enton hasn't really covered this case much lately, right? He's still on the Nancy Guthrie. Guilty of Crime. Shout out to Jay. Pascal. I watch him in the mornings, but he's on way too early for me. Law and Crime. Anyone but TMZ. BJ. They're saying you should be an actress, BJ. I don't know, but you like what you do. You love what you do, BJ. So don't go into acting. J is for justice is also funny too. I was watching her when sending you a message on Discord before you head to bed. Please do, yeah. And all of you guys, we have, I don't know how many new members we have in the inner circle, but just so you guys know, we do have a members only Discord where the conversation doesn't stop. The conversation continues practically like 24 hours a day. So if you want to be kept up with all the news, I promise you anything that we discuss on the lives definitely goes out onto the Discord beforehand. So if you want to get the scoop before it becomes the scoop, join the Discord. If you're a member, you should already have access to my community wall. Click on community, go to my posts, and then click on the last link. I just posted one today. It has a link to the Discord. Join the Discord. That's where it's at. So do want to thank everybody that supported the channel. I'm going to make it quick. Donna became a member. Kokomon for the 10 gifted memberships. Kel on Earth for the super chat. Kokomon for the $50 super chat. Kel on Earth for another $2 super chat. Both fans need to check in with the FBI. He for Tambo gifted 5 memberships. Brandon renewed his membership. Also sent a $5 Canadian super chat. Veronica with her $10 super chat. Unity Eagle AI celebrated 2 months as a member and also sent a 249 pound super chat. I forget all these different currencies. I don't even know how to pronounce them correctly, so forgive me. Jess sent a $10 super chat. Foxy celebrated 4 months as a member. Darling Jess with her $20 super chat, and Ronan with the $5 super chat. I gifted 10. Ronan did 5. Nebby did 5. Thank you so much. Rocco sent 5. Gee, your lord. And then Zenbella actually starred your comment. Is the David on her finger supposed to look like the red string? And then Kokomon for your $20 super chat. So I do appreciate it. Whew, I'm out of breath, you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight. Tomorrow is a new month. It is going to be May, and we're approaching May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, which would mark the 1 year anniversary of when Celeste Rivas was dismembered. It's unfortunate news, but we do want to make sure we never stop saying her name. So we'll be back. Maybe we'll continue the briefing tomorrow. We'll see what else we can find and dig into. But I do want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care, everybody. I am out. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace, guys.